my Star Wars video how I mentioned that the biggest enemy to ever cross the path of a sweaty, Cheeto-eating and Mountain Dew chugging gamer were books? Well then you see, that claim? It was only half right. Throughout the years, ever since gaming's inception, there was once a time before the convenience of the internet and just being able to download the biggest AAA games day one, where you needed to physically go outside, you know, where gamers don't usually tend to go, converse with people, your introvertism be damned, and actually buy one of these puppies. Yes. It's a box. But you see, back in the days, this box did something special. It held the game. But not only that, this little box itself was a special piece of kit that would provide its very own source of entertainment. I'm sure I'm not the only person who remembers back in the day when you went out to a game store, bought something you were either really looking forward to or just something that looked incredibly interesting, and then on the car ride back home, you were just fixated on that little box and all the contents on the inside of it. It's a feeling that I feel can only really be described if you've experienced it at least once in your life. But nowadays, I don't feel like we see as many people sharing that kind of experience. We have now since moved on to a more digital age where the internet has just made everything so much more convenient to access all the shit we needed to go outside and get ourselves. And I feel like it's a damn shame because I remember back in the day, like in 2007, when people were camping outside GameStops just so that they can be the first one to get access to Halo 3. There was such a huge sense of community that still exists to this day, sure, but I don't think that could even come close to what we're witnessing right now. And it's not to say that we've gone completely digital yet. There are still companies nowadays that will still pump out physical editions of games and sell them on store shelves, and there are even smaller companies that make physical editions of games that usually would just be released all digital. But as time marched forward, even this turned into an underwhelming novelty rather than the exciting journey that it used to be. And that's what I aim to explore in this video today. Now, after my Skull and Bones video, you may think to yourself, John, this seems like a little bit of a 180-degree turn for your video style. Well, you are correct in that assumption, but my answer to that question is that I live in South Africa. Now, to a lot of you who don't actually live here, allow me to explain. In South Africa, there is something known as load shedding. This phenomenon is essentially like a plague, because whenever it shows up, destruction is sure to follow. So basically what it is, because South Africa has limited reserves of power, our power stations allocate a set amount of electricity that is allowed during the day. And during one of these load shedding stages, they'll usually cut the power for around 2 hours a day, but can go as badly as to cutting the power for around 6 hours a day. It fucking sucks. I don't think I need to really explain further than that. But as of recently, we haven't had any load shedding, meaning that I didn't have to live my life like I was playing one of those timed missions in a GTA game. But all of that changed after this past weekend. Because of the requirement of some maintenance, we didn't have power for the entire weekend. So please feel sorry for me. And not only that, guess who also forgot to put his cell phone on charge, so I effectively had nothing much I could really do until the power came on 2 days later. Except for one thing. I'm pretty sure all of us at least once, when we didn't have access to the internet, we found solace in the warm embrace of our picture gallery. That much I'm certain of. But since I didn't even have access to that, I resorted to the next best thing. I consulted to my own personal archives. Yes, throughout the years, I have been an avid collector of all things video games. I have amassed a pretty substantial amount of them over the years, and I'm genuinely proud of some of the cool stuff I was able to find at places like thrift stores and stuff. So what I decided to do was just take an entire stack of them, lie in bed, and looked at all the stuff like the box art, read some of the manuals, and just appreciated the beauty of all the effort that went into making all of these things. Until I got to my PS4 games. And then I realized that gaming was truly dead. And so that brings us to today's video, because I've started to notice that this was a trend that was happening to all modern day video games. I'm far from the first YouTuber to tackle this kind of topic, that much I'm aware, but now I decided that it was my turn to demonstrate to all of you what a truly lost art form physical gaming has become. And I personally think the best way to demonstrate all of this than to just show you myself. Yes, in order to best demonstrate what I mean, that physical video games are somewhat
of a lost art form, I've taken a select few games out of my own personal collection, everything ranging from the Atari 2600 to the most latest console that I own, that being the PS4. And since I don't own every single console, I am going to reach out to a few friends of the channel in order to help me out with this, so I can just further illustrate how, as time moved forward, physical video games that we would normally just go get in the store and all that stuff, there's just not that much effort put into them. A lot of these games as well, though, I will have to preface, are pre-owned. There are a few brand new games, and I think those brand new games are like the best evidence to prove how little effort is put into like these newer released games. And to keep it structured, I have listed everything down on this notepad right here, so we at least have some structure going forward. This is going to be entirely unscripted though, so what I'm going to do for a majority of this is I'm going to channel in my inner unbox therapy, or the relaxing end, or whatever the fuck kind of unbox YouTuber you tend to watch. And yeah, sit back, relax, and just enjoy the ride. Now, starting off with this entire entourage, I think it's only appropriate to start with the oldest games that I own in my collection, and that starts from the Atari 2600 to the NES. Hello everybody, welcome to an episode of Unbox Long. I'm your host, Mr. Long. So this is going to be my entire makeshift unbox therapy, where I show you all the games. Obviously, I'll flip this in post so that you guys can actually read shit, and if some things are like flipped or backwards or upside down, then maybe just flip your monitor. So yeah, to start off this entire thing, I think it's only fair, let's start with the oldest games that I do own, and that's on the NES and the Atari 2600. Now, granted, I don't have these things physical. I went to an antique store that's close to our town where I went to an antique store that's in our house, and then, not in our house, that was close to our house, where we essentially, it's like a museum almost, but you can buy every single thing that's there. And then I just walked past one of the alleys, and then I just see an Atari 2600 with a bunch of games and its controller. So I had to snag that thing the second, because I would be damned if I lost that thing. There were two, but unfortunately the other one kind of left, much to dismay of my brother, but the thing is fucked anyway, so I can't play it. But one of the games that I was able to find here was the original Pitfall, released by Activision. You know, the Call of Duty company. And you can see, this is just an interesting relic of history. This is one of the only ones that I'm convinced still works, because I don't know what you would call this section here where the cartridge would slot in. But this is the only one that I think that is intact, and if I ever get that Atari 2600 working, I'm convinced that this would be the only one that would still work, miraculously. But yeah, this is Pitfall. I think it's kind of like one of the first platformer games of the era, which is quite interesting, and then that it's Activision. Also, another cool thing, just because if you didn't know who the publisher was, they literally etched their logo at the back. I cannot speak into it. And you know what I find interesting, because fun fact, I'm a graphic designer. The fact that Activision's logo has not changed ever since the 1980s is how am I gonna explain it? Whatever, it's a commendable thing that it's got a timeless design to it, and I just love these little boxes. From my understanding, what you would get with Atari 2600, you get overly misleading box art that showed the games looking way better than what you were actually getting, but that was the beauty of Atari. You kind of needed to use your imagination to fill in the blanks of what the technology at the time couldn't do, and then you would just get a slip, to my knowledge, and a few extra bells and whistles depending on what game you had, that would give you hotline numbers, emails. I don't know. As a person who was not born in the 80s myself, I don't remember everything. But from the most part, with normal games, all you would get was just a little pamphlet that showed the controls, and then you were on your way. But I can excuse that for the Atari 2600, because video games as a whole, console gaming, was a brand new art form at the time. So they needed to convey how you were supposed to play the games. What do you call it? They had to convey how to play the games somehow, right? Because this is probably long before the era of tutorials and shit like that. And yeah, so this isn't the only one that I own, but this is the most interesting one I wanted to talk about, because it's probably the most intact one that I have. And if I'm gonna be playing any Atari 2600 games nowadays, it's probably through the collections and re-releases on Steam or PlayStation or stuff like that. But this is a really cool artifact, and this was just one of the few things at the time. the most insane part about this is that gaming itself was a novelty. So this thing in and of itself had value back in the 1980s. It's not like nowadays where we have box arts, manuals, all that shit. This thing itself was enough to get you excited for what you are about to experience. But this isn't the oldest console that I do have, because I have access. That was a bit hard. I hope I didn't fuck it up. I do also I've had like a lot of experience playing NES games, but not in the way you would think. Now, I think NES games were like around the time when manuals and stuff like that were starting to become commonplace, and they still had to kind of like do the thing of like they had these very highly detailed illustrations of like what the games were supposed to represent, but the graphics at the time just couldn't really like display that in such high clarity and detail. But essentially at the same time when gaming just came back from the video game crash, I think it was 1983. I could be wrong. I'm not very up to date with my video game history now. But yeah, but here's the thing. We've had NESs in our families before, but when I was born, we were still playing that shit. But not in the way you might think. May I present to you, if you've ever went to a Chinese thrift store, you definitely saw one of these 9 million in one games. Like these little cartridges with the bootlegged systems. Do you understand like how insane this thing is? And what I find funny is like, look how misleading it is. I'm trying to just frame it. Like, okay, so that's from Super Mario 64. Then there's a rat playing baseball. Probably some stock royalty-free things from the Olympics, which I think was the track and field game, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, these things nowadays in and of themselves was a novelty, and I think they still hold value, even though they are just counterfeits. To give you like a little bit of a bang for your buck, remember the 9 trillion million billion, the amount of views a TikToker gets to get needs to get $1. These were just like, and like almost half of the million games that were on here were just copy and pasted anyway. But still, for me, I'm also grateful for these kinds of like bootleg systems, because these were the ways how I got to experience a lot of NES games. Like Super Mario 64's picture might be here, but that was the original Super Mario Brothers. I think Super Mario Brothers 2 was on here as well. I don't know, but these were like ancient relics of history. And we also have another one of these editions, and how we used to get these things were in these little boxes right here. This was like, I think this was a video rental store's like box for where they store these cartridges, and there is one in here, so let's have a look and see what that is. Hang on, let me just... Oh. I guess we'll never know. Yeah, I'm just kidding. So like this thing is so old, it like literally the sticker peeled off. So I'm gonna just try and show you what I'm just gonna show you everything right now. So there's Pikachu, there's Dragon Ball Z that I don't think for fuck was on here, Ken from Street Fighter, and then I guess just a random stock picture from an F1 car and soccer. But again, this was like, I think there was less. It's called the New Super Game, but I like the design of the cartridge. This was pretty cool. Yeah, so this was just like how I got to experience like the early days of like gaming, and I think like even though one of these are legit and these are just like bootlegged like ways how we used to play games, this still has value to me in some extent, and this was still even something exciting back in the day to just pop into one of those like those bootlegged NESs or SNESs, whatever the hell they were selling. These were NES, but it just like takes me back to the era when I played like these 8-bit and whatever the hell the Atari 2600 was back in the day. But yeah, no, it's like, this is like what I'm talking about. Like this itself is just like a relic. This was just kind of like a relic of like what we had to work with at the time. Avoid exposing cartridge to extreme temperature. Yeah, they even etched warnings. I don't know how much you guys can see this. Like they even etched the warnings at the back. Yeah, this was just cool. Like, this is a very nostalgic thing for me. And yeah, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people at the time even also had some of these things. So yeah, these are like the oldest games that I personally do own. I own a few more cartridges, but I just wanted to bring up a few things to everybody's attention just to show, like, this is the novelty, like back with the Atari 2600, the novelty of just having a game back in the day was enough to get people excited. And yeah, so, but I do have like a little bit of another curveball I would like to throw your way. And I'm just gonna go back to my other camera to tell you guys what that is. You didn't think I was just gonna leave you with an incomplete boxless set of games now, did you? No, I actually reached out to one of my friends, Aki Dave, who also owns a few retro games of himself. He sadly couldn't fill any of his own narration, but since I'm a good friend and YouTuber as well, I decided that I was gonna fill in the blanks for him real quick. So from his side and his footage alone, I present to you the Sega Genesis.
So after flying down to the country of freedom and 50 cows, over here we have the Sega Genesis, starting with the one game that Capcom would milk for the past 30 years because originality is a luxury that they can't afford. So on top of these boxes that look like the stuff they'd store 90s porn VHS tapes in, we have this awesome artwork on the front, the game's logo on the side, and all these screenshots from the game itself, and an entire Sunny V2 video script on the back talking about the game. Moving to the inside, we get this sweet black cartridge with the system, the publisher, and M. Bison looking like he's taking a shit on the floor, this pamphlet order form for special merchandise offers where you got to fill in your personal information so Capcom could later dox you, as well as this warranty registration form, and then we finally move over to the game's manual where you get to behold the beauty of the game's box art, this time in book form, and on the back it shows you the publisher of the console you're playing this game on, as well as the address and phone number to Capcom's offices for when you wanted to request undressed sprites of Chun-Li. And once you actually open this manual, pages upon pages of word and high quality illustrations of the characters, including their name, weight, and nationality, and even their moves, all there for you to read while you're in the car waiting to get home so you could finally start playing your at the time next generation console. This had to be so cool for people who invested in these systems back in the 90s. Hell, since Dave was so nice, he even showed us a few extra games. And just look at the variety here. Here's the original not for resale edition of the franchise Sega's been abusing for the past 3 decades. The earliest example of personas being used in the game. The Mortal Kombat clone starring Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey. The co-op beat-em-up featuring the character from the 2021 movie that had me crying because they never fucking used it. And the game based off one of the best movie sequels of all time with the Austrian man with a funny laugh. Truly a relic of the past to look back on nowadays, and definitely something that sure as hell had a lot of kids excited back in the day, and just so much value in this little box alone.
Now moving away from the era of cartridge-based gaming until much later in this video, we now move over to the very first disc-based console I own, and that was the PS1, my personal favorite console of all time if you didn't know. Now moving on from the systems that made gaming a mainstay in the household in its inception basically, now we move over to my personal favorite video game console of all time, and that is the PS1. So I have a select few games over here that like I would say spans like okay, one of these I'm gonna have to like set down for later because this is gonna be like at the end of it. You might see here in the corner a little bit. So I've taken a select few games, like 3 mainly, that like I would say ranges from like brand new games at the time. Obviously these aren't new, but these were like the original, and then I don't know how to explain it. So it's original, platinum, which was greatest hits in the US, and then even the special little cases, you know? These special little cases right here, like if you see Final Fantasy VII, you should know. But in any case, act like you didn't see those before. Act like you didn't see these. So this is how the PS1 games looked, I believe, in PAL territories exclusively. I know in the States they were put into jewel cases, which I heard was the name. So right here, as you can see, like this is one of my favorite games ever made. Future Cop LAPD. Look at that fucking kick-ass mecha X1 Alpha. This was before EA games went to shit, and that's when their logo looked like that. But just look how cool this is. Like, look at that little holographic Sony Entertainment, thing there. That looked so cool. And this is when, like, around my time, like, there's the PlayStation logo etched there, it was etched here. There's that sleek, lovely design there, like that nice font, PlayStation logo, PAL territories. SLES. If you saw that spit, I apologize. I'm not the best unboxing YouTuber. But any case, yeah, I don't know what these SLES, I think they were just like IDs to show when these games were made. But again, look at this. This was around the time as well when games, you could probably argue it was like this with the SNES and the Sega Genesis at the time as well, but this was truly when the games that were released could actually somewhat represent their actual box art. So just look how cool this is. Like a CG illustration, another sign of the time that holds so much like historical value. The fact that like there was like a time when CG renders were all the rage, and with the primitive 3D technology we had around the time, they could only sometimes barely make out what they were supposed to have. It's cool. And like, look here. So here's like the back of the box, them listing like the entire synopsis of the game, screenshots of the game itself, and sometimes from the cinematics, the features. Like, this was cool. Like, let's see what this is. In the 21st century, gangs have taken over Los Angeles. Hit the streets with your standard issue walker, hovercraft and all. Purpose, your all-purpose justice dispenser. Like I said, this game holds a special place in my heart to this day. A fun historical fact here that happened around last year. So this is my brother's game. I think the only two games that actually belong to me are Time Crisis and Final Fantasy VII. Every other PS1 game we've ever owned was my brother's. I love this game so much. Like, I would replay this game on the daily. I think I did make a short on it. If I did not, then I should probably, and I do want to make a full video on this game. I love this game so much. I went through my PlayStation 3 collection because my brother's a humongous God of War fan, like old school God of War. He wanted God of War Ascension. I had no problem with that. I gave him the game. Now this one is mine. You guys in the comment decide who got the short end of the stick on that one. Personally, for me, I think I won. So yeah, this is just so cool. And especially like these little icons here. This is gonna be way too small. So really, I don't even think it's gonna focus in. But if you guys can like see that little blob there with a few colors, like just look at this. So vibration, let me read this. Vibration function compatible, analog controller compatible, because this game came out I think in 1998, around the time when the DualShock just became a standard controller for the PS1. Memory card, 1 block. I don't know why back in the days they decided that way we're gonna do it in blocks and not just through megabytes, because remember, we sent people to the moon on kilobytes of RAM, and then 1 to 2 players. And like these icons themselves are so like classic, you know, like little stick figure man, the little illustration of the controller, the vibration. It was just such an interesting time. And even another thing that shows its history, ELSPA over there. This is, I'm pretty convinced that this is a defunct ratings board, and I think it's blurry again, so I do apologize for that. But I want to like just show what they did. I'm gonna try and, yeah, this thing isn't gonna focus for shit, but in any case, like, here what I loved about this is that they had like 4 blocks for rating something, and then they would cross out the age that was appropriate to play the game. And then they would cross with a red X what ages were not allowed. So for this game, if you were between ages 3 to 10, you were not allowed to play this. Anywhere from age 11 to 18 and over, that was fine. There's even an attention thing over here, which I don't understand. Like, it just says attention, and then it's everything is like, I want to say that this is French, I think. But in any case, like, that's just one aspect of it. This was the outside of the box, and this is just like, this was something that I would like look at just for hours when I was younger. Even though this was like the year I was born when this game came out. I still hold such a nostalgic value for this box art and the game itself. But in any case, now, since we moved over from a new, there's a stamp in here that I don't know is gonna dox me or anything, but so I'm not gonna like look at that. But look at this! The book! An actual book. There's Electronic Arts. There's a barcode that I don't know why this was inside the book as well. But look at this. Oh, that clean, sleek, little square design for a box. Do you know how cool this is and how much it takes you back? And look, it's a little bit of a chunky fuck. Definitely not anywhere close to another game that we own on the PS1 specifically. But this is just like insane. Like, look at this. The little illustration here to show the console, for in case you didn't know what system you were playing on. The controller, which I find is ironic, because for those of you who aren't aware, the PlayStation 1 controller originally looked like this because it took a lot of cues from the SNES, in its gray design and in its like button layout, I think. But this was before the DualShock was introduced. I want to make an entire video just talking about how it felt to play games like these. Because, fun fact, I was so used to this controller, by the time I played the PS2, and the DualShock was mandatory to play games on that thing. I just couldn't get behind the DualShock design. Obviously, as time moved on, I warmed up a little bit to it. But yeah, then it shows you like literally the controller layout here. Look how awesome that is, just little diagrams. It gives you like an introduction to the game. Here's the content, so if you wanted to skip over to a certain thing. I don't know if this was commonplace. Like, I do remember, because look here, the pictures are in black and white. So I don't know if this was commonplace back on the PS1, but I remember there was like certain aspects that when a game was originally printed, the pictures and shit that were included in the manuals were in color. And if you got like a platinum or special edition, platinum or greatest hits, whatever it is, then they would do it in black and white. This is the original copy, so I don't know why this is in black and white. Maybe it was how it was back in the day, just to save on ink for printers. But yeah, just look how cool this is. It like showed you every single thing you needed to know about the game before you even played the game. So do you understand like how like awesome this is? You could already prep yourself and get yourself hyped up for what you're about to experience before you even pop the thing into the console. And like, it's just something to read. And you know, like when my power went out, I just went through this stuff. Didn't go into too much detail because I played this game so many fucking times. But it's just still a novelty in and of itself to just have a book like this to read. Just also look at the box art, because look how musty this fucking thing looks in comparison. I don't know if you can see, it's aged, and when you put like, if you compare it to like, it almost looks more saturated, you can almost say. But yeah, this was like, what do you call it? This was like the awesome thing that you can get, but like, I have even something better to show you. Since this was the first time we've moved over to a new way to play our games, we went to CD technology, and just look at how simple, clean, and awesome this looks. Just like genuinely have a look at that. Like such a nice glossy finish. The disc has got like this whole pseudo like holographic look to it. It's got everything, PlayStation logo, the game's logo. This product is not endorsed or associated in any way with the Los Angeles Police Department. They needed to specify that at the bottom. I can agree, I don't think I've ever seen any walkers going around LA, or that's probably what comes out at night when I'm sleeping. But yeah, even as well as like a novelty for just this disc, remember back in the days, PS1 games looked like this. And now this thing is scratched to all shit. This thing is as old as I am. This was my brother's, so I don't exactly know how, in what condition, when he got this, but this would mean that this is a 25-year-old game disc, and it still works, if you believe it or not. I don't know if you can see all the scratches. Yeah, that's a perfect angle. Yeah, you can see all the fucking scratches. Look at this thing, got mangled. But still, back in the day, even PS1 games had the black back, which looks so cool. Now, any Americans watching this, did you guys have this? Because during the PlayStation 2 era, there was a point where the discs were blue. And that even also looked awesome to me. It was at a point where I didn't believe that when I just saw like the normal back of a disc, like clear, reflective, all that shit, I thought that those were like fakes. But no, this is legit. This is how it was. And yeah, like back in the day, even like I've said, this was a novelty. Okay, this was a novelty to have a new way to play video games in and of itself, alongside with the new 3D graphics that looked insane for the time, the new way to play games, and like everything was just a novelty. This is still like a part where being a gamer in and of itself and just having a new way to play a game. I'm sorry if like I'm rambling a little bit too much, but this is also how the inside looked, covered like that little stamp there. This is a 1998 game, so I highly doubt. Just pop that thing back in there. There you go. I mean, there are games that came out earlier to this, but for most people who played 3D games for the first time, it was through the PS1 or the Sega Saturn, or maybe later down the line the Dreamcast, but still, this in and of itself was enough to get people hyped. So, moving over to another game that I personally bought recently. Like, let's say you weren't one of the lucky ones, and I do know some collectors have issues when you buy this edition. So, we had something like in the PAL region, we had the Platinum hit, which is essentially the greatest hits equivalent, except it doesn't have that ugly puke green that it had in America. And it had like a much nicer looking silver. Still not something that I personally would like to own in my collection. I'm also a little bit of a stickler for stuff like that. But yeah, this is another one of the editions that you got. If you're not too full of shit and you don't mind it like I do, then yeah, this is also just awesome. This was a recent buy. Like the disc case is a little bit cracked, but it's still got the same thing. There you go. This is the original Time Crisis. Only issue that I do have with it, but it's still... Yeah, okay, this is the problem when it comes to owning these editions. You have like this more generic looking disc. Still has the black background. I don't know how the hell this thing got scratched, but I played this on my PS2 the other day. It still works great. This is what you would get. Like the Platinum disc equivalent. So this looks like... The front of this disc looks how normal CDs look nowadays, or DVDs, whatever you want to look at it from. But yeah, there you got the Platinum, the game... like the game, the code, or whatever the hell this meant, publishers, Sony, Namco, the console, and yeah, this in of itself was like, not what you would get, but this is another time capsule of like, when a game sold enough copies, this is the kind of stamp of approval that you would get. How you feel about the change of like, color to the border and shit, that's up to you. I'm not bothered by it particularly, but yeah, also Time Crisis, amazing game, amazing series. I want to make a video on rail shooters at some point. But then you get the big boys. Now there's a lot more than this, but I think that this is like the best indicator for this because this is the only other like complete copy of a game that I have with manual and all, and that is the original Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1. Unfortunately, the greatest hits or PlayStation equivalent Platinum Edition that you would get. But yeah, as you can see, this was another one of these novelties because at the time, remember, this was 1997. CDs, remember, PlayStation games only ran through CDs. So they were limited in the amount of space that they were able to maintain. So CDs could only keep around 700 megabytes of data. That is a far cry from fuck knows how many gigs DVDs or Blu-rays can hold nowadays. I'm quite curious myself, how many gigs can nowadays like PlayStation 5 Series X Blu-rays take, because you can't tell me like it's just 8 gigs. Like I remember back in the day, there was like when DVDs just came around, they upped it to I think 4 gigs for a single layer, 8, no? Yeah, it was, I think it was 4 gigs for a single layer, 8 gigs for a dual layer, and then I'm not sure how much the original Blu-rays that were on the PlayStation 3 could store. But yeah, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. So again, this is a relic in and of itself because Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, people, this is the game that caused like a wide shift in JRPG fans in the West. I think it was we were more kind to it here in the East, but look at this, like the original Final Fantasy VII. But the reason I'm bringing up space specifically, it includes Final Fantasy VIII preview disc. Now, I don't know if this is just because of like, maybe this isn't a complete copy and I'm just spreading misinformation on the internet. But look at this. So if this has like a previous disc for Final Fantasy VIII, I am not sure. But in any case, like I mentioned, the space, but look, you might have also noticed that this is a bit of a chunky fucker as well. And that is because, like why I mentioned space, if you have been around the time, this game came on 3 discs. Now, I'm not going to go out of my way to show you everything. You know how the Platinum discs look at this point, but now there's just 3 of them. Look at that. Because around the time they had, Final Fantasy VII at the time was so big, they needed to split this across 3 different games. 3 different discs. Let me see if these are even in order. Yeah, this is disc 1 of 3, disc 2 of 3. I'm not gonna take these out. I did play it a little bit on my PS3 when I just bought this, because I always wanted to play the original Final Fantasy VII, and to this day, if it isn't the remake, then this is still my favorite Final Fantasy, but just look at that. And then once again, you have, like, as I mentioned, there is your booklet with everything, and what I find interesting here, because back in the day, remember, I don't know if I should keep it upside down because I have to flip this, but as you can see, memory card, try beating Final Fantasy VII without it. Which makes sense because I think the original Final Fantasy VII must have been like 40 hours across all 3 discs, I think. I'm not 1,000,000% sure, I never finished it, I finished the remake, so I don't know where this Final Fantasy VIII disc is. I don't think I have this, so I did spread misinformation online. But this is just another novelty at the time that games were starting to get so big that you'd need multiple discs in order to finish it. Other games that come to mind are the other Final Fantasies, of course, like 8 and 9, and then, of course, like the most famous of which could be Metal Gear Solid, the original. But yeah, this in and of itself was also just such a fun thing to open up back in the day. And if we're going back through the contents of the manual, it's still got the same stuff, like the diagrams of the consoles, probably like, yeah, there we go, a struggle to determine the planet's future with Cloud over there. Then you got like the character bios, like their age and shit. Okay, so here's another thing. So this is not a controversy, but it's like the Greedo or Han shot first kind of like debacle, whether or not Aerith from Final Fantasy VII was called Aeris or Aerith. Now, I don't remember if this was something that was maybe fixed in the game itself, but in the manual it says Aeris, but nowadays it's canonically confirmed it's Aerith. I'm going off of a little bit of a tangent here. But yeah, this also is black and white, but I don't know if this is commonplace on the PS1. Also, yeah, here's another funny thing. So here we have customer service numbers. This booklet's a little bit falling apart, so I don't want to fuck around with it too much. But you could probably call people like if you needed help, which I think is so interesting. So there's like numbers for Australia, I cannot pronounce, Österreich, I think, Denmark, Suomi, France, Deutschland, Greece, Ireland, Israel, wherever you wanted to call to get help, and wherever you get from Portugal, New Zealand, all these places, you could call them. If those numbers are still active today, I'm not sure. But these are all the PS1 games that I own. This is one of my favorite consoles of all time. It's definitely the one that holds the most nostalgic value for me because I played the shit out of these things and I absolutely love it nowadays. When games like Crow Country, for example, is a new one that uses the PlayStation 1 style, which I believe is inspired by Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, basically, like, I just love the art style. It takes me back to when I was a kid, and this is just a console that will always have a special place in my heart. But I'm gonna now move over to the one console that I believe holds another special place in the hearts of many, and you know what that is. Back to the other camera. Moving over now from my favorite console of all time, I feel now that it's only appropriate to move over to the next console that is debatably one of the best consoles ever released, and that was the PlayStation 2. So as I've mentioned before, this is now a console that I believe will hold a special place in the hearts of many people, and while I did grow up with it, I didn't properly own one until my late years of college. So here we go. Welcome to the good mighty old PlayStation 2, and I have like a good select few games over here that I all think like have like their own special like value. So I bought all of these from thrift stores or got handed down from friends. Like this one was from a friend. This is one of this is again one of my best buddies bought me at like another antique store or something like that. But any case, so where do we start? In South Africa, and I'm assuming for most of the PAL regions, this is what we usually got. This is the original untainted version of a PlayStation 2 game. So we got the blue box, white spine with the PlayStation 2 logo over here at the side. And as you can see, one of the best games on the system, and a game I finished recently on the original Xbox, Time Splitters 2. Absolutely amazing. I wouldn't call that a 10 out of 10 though, but the official PlayStation 2 magazine's word holds a lot more meaning than mine, I guess. So once again, this is another time capsule about where these games were at the time. So I'm assuming this is an original print, because I'm not sure if you can see over here. This is still when Eidos was still the owner of Free Radical, and there you can see the Free Radical logo over there. And here's another ratings board that I always recognized. Now it's also ELSPA, but I think they like simplified it to just saying like, listen, if you're older than 15, you can play it, okay? We don't need to keep marking shit down. So again, here you see the back of the case, all the screenshots from the games, all of the characters, outnumbered but never outgunned, all this other crap. Hang on, the critically acclaimed Time Splitters is back. I have still yet to play the first game, sue me. This time bigger, better, faster, and more furious than anything you've ever played. Maybe at the time, yeah, I can definitely say, especially if you played multiplayer. But yeah, all the game's features, screenshots, right then and there. Over here, they show like the language, I'm assuming the game was in. There's Eidos' website. All your essential things like the amount of players that can play the game, your memory card, how big each of the saves would be. It's multi-tap compatible, so you can play up to 1 to 4 players. Analog stick compatible, analog sticks only. So that's just lovely. That goes to show that if you did not own a DualShock, then you were shit out of luck. But I don't understand why that would be a feature or a thing that they needed to like let you know, especially so small, where I guarantee you not a lot of people would have fucking read it. But I think like the reason I'm saying it's unnecessary because if you bought a PS2, you'd get a DualShock 2 anyway. So I don't see why they needed the extra point of clarification. But yeah, also you might see over here, this is around the time, since this is a new console, this is just when the DVD format became standard. So games could be bigger, better, and Final Fantasy would have to print one less disc if they wanted to fit their entire game on there. So yeah, here's all this other stuff. There's that cool like holographic PlayStation logo thing. I don't know if you can see it. It's a bit out of frame. No, there you go. I think you can see that. But yeah, this is sleek and this is clean. And once again, well, shit. Okay, so I don't have a booklet, but that's fine. We'll fix that later. But what was cool, there's your disc. Nice, sleek art. Look at that. Beautiful. I absolutely love it. It's all in beautiful color this time, just like we did, like we saw with the Future Cop, original disc. This is back when the discs, I'm assuming this is then a reprint, because this is how we now know DVDs look. Like commonplace, and this is how most CDs look nowadays, despite their format. It could be CD, DVD, Blu-ray, anything like that. I think oh, this is a revelation for me. This is probably not going to be able to show up on camera, but if it does, I'll be able to see. No, I think you can. You can see the PlayStation logo kind of burned into it. Like, there's a small blotch there I can see on the camera. Sorry, it's a bit further away, so I can't see it, but look at this. This little blotch here, that's the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation logo like burned into the disc. I did not notice this before. That is so cool. Maybe that's why games red screen if they didn't detect the PlayStation logo. That's awesome. Also a cool thing, and you'll see this later down the line, and it's going to show another novelty. These cases came with a place that some of them did, where you could put your memory card. So if you were a little misplacing little goblin, then you at the very least had, had a place to store it, and it was just there when you bought the game. So that's another cool thing. Another reason why I think having a PS2 was so novel is because this is just when gaming started to really amp up. It started to really gain like a good following with the PlayStation 1, but this is when gaming started to really go and blow up and be mainstream. And the PS2 is such a special console itself because of all the games that came out, all the great franchises that started here, all of the like memories that this brought to so many people, and the fact that it was a DVD player also probably helped with the parents, so they didn't just buy something for their kids. But in any case, I think this is why MX vs ATV was here. So this is the only thing I would add. This is interesting because again, it's a time capsule, because look, this is back when THQ, the originals, were still around, and they were publishing things like the best MX vs ATV game just by any means, or you know, that I did not make a lick of sense, but you know what I mean. Like, this was back when THQ was still around, they published this. And this is one of the few instances where I see the old PEGI. Now, for my American viewers out there that do not know what a fucking PEGI is, it is the ratings board that rates the games that are released in PAL regions like Europe and over here. And this was their old logo, and you can also see that this is a net play game for the PlayStation 2, which means hook this fucker up to a Ethernet connection and then play online with a bunch of friends. And I think the reason, this is another reason why I'm saying, like, so you didn't always get the memory card notch over here, but you got like the nice PlayStation logo over there. And I noticed like some of these CD cases also kind of do have a difference, like when you press into them to remove them. Some of them are a lot nicer than others. And this is another one of the problems that I could list a little bit later. There's a little bit of disc damage. I cannot get my finger over. There's a little bit of disc damage. And this will get into a point I'm trying to make a little bit later. But yeah, there you go. Cool disc art. Another ratings board for whatever reason. But if I'm going back to another... so let's see. You'll see in the notch here, it looks different than over here. I'll show you guys now. So there's the notch for the memory card. There's the button you would press to eject the disc. Essentially, it looks like that on Time Splitters, and it looks like this. It looks like the IGN logo in this one, and it looks different. I'll get to a point why these things could sometimes be equally as frustrating as a design, because I don't know why certain DVD boxes have something. Let's see. I think this might be my very first full thing. This is one of my best buddies that bought this for me at when I was in college. Now you'll notice immediately, so this is the Getaway Black Monday. As you can see, the first British version of GTA, if you don't count the 1943, whenever the hell that one PS1 GTA came out. But as you can see, this one's box is black. So this is, I believe, how the American PlayStation 2 boxes looked. So this is very interesting because, like, I don't know if this is because of it's being an early case of it being a oh yeah, and here you see, just to further demonstrate the notch, there's an actual PS2 memory card. Remember back in the days before we had internal hard drives, this is how we used to save our things. I'm also very glad I still have this, but like, look at that. This is like the most complete in-box, and as you see, they also have another notch that's more like Time Splitters to eject the disc. But I almost feel like this is where I'm jealous of the Americans. But before we get to that, there's our Getaway Black Monday booklet, as you can see. Oh, and this one's in color, so this kind of like further cements the fact that, like, if it was an original press, they'd print all these in color. Even though that's probably just for some pictures, because most of this booklet is black. So, yeah. But look how clean this looks, dude. This wouldn't look out of place in a modern day, like, in a modern day advertisement for, like, some futuristic tech business. This is so sleek and so nice. There's all your character bios and shit. There's all the stuff you could do. It's awesome. And you know, the thing is, like, I think this is, well, okay, they say it's Team Soho. This also, like, again, it's a time capsule for around the time when these companies were around. I don't think Team Soho exists anymore, or they became the Sony London studio, which got shut down sadly last year. But yeah, like, dude, this is just like so sleek, and I just think that the black looks so good. Like, look at this. It just flows so nicely. And like this contrasting white at the side just looks so good. Something to just look at, the art that was put into this, these interesting screenshots, and something to read. No, this was like very awesome, and I really like this. We have another different rating board this time. I don't know who the hell they are. You can tell me you're not allowed to play this when you're not over 18. Just know about that. And then just to round this off, here's the PlayStation 2 Platinum version, which has gone on till the PlayStation 3. And then PlayStation 3 got Essentials, and I don't know what the hell was going on there. We're back to PEGI, it would seem, and this is Ratchet & Clank 2 Going Commando if you're an American. I don't know why the hell we didn't get those frickin' subtitles, they were funny. And yeah, like, again, this isn't like my go-to thing that I would want. If I lived in a perfect world, all my PS2 games would have this black box and, you know, so that it all looks so consistent. But yeah, this is how it looked. What I don't like about this is here's that massive platinum stamp. I don't know how I should hold this. Here's that platinum stamp right there, and that, like, here's this border over here to show, oh, Ratchet & Clank 2 is a platinum sold game. We know Ratchet & Clank is awesome. Old Insomniac logo and all. This was, I love Ratchet & Clank, though that's not sounding good. Okay, there we got another notch to remove it. We don't have the PS2. We don't have the memory card holder in this one. And what I find interesting here is to see the beauty. Oh wait, it's two different ones. Wow. So you want to know what makes that interesting? You buy this one. Now I'm not sure. I think that this is the actual box art. But even if you get the box art to look at and to, like, enjoy the amount of time, effort, and better looking CG models are, you open it up and the booklet had its own art. How cool is that? And apparently, the vibration damage control. Also, another funny thing about this game that I want to bring up to everybody's attention. This is just a side thing. So there you have, like, the obvious thing, another cool piece of art of Ratchet & Clank. But I don't get this. So Ratchet & Clank Return. Kicking ass one planet at a time. Let's see if you can read that. Kicking ass. I think that's what it says there. I can't really see because it's not focusing. But yes, Ratchet & Clank 3 Plus said ass. But yeah, this is so interesting. Like, this is like another relic of the past. Like, if you got, this is probably what you'll find mostly if you want to get games brand new for PS2, is like this silver print. But yeah, this is just like, I guess, like the seal of approval, these platinum things to show that your game sold like hotcakes. And as much as like they suck to look at nowadays and how shit they look on a shelf, there is a certain value in having these things. Only the best, like over here, only the best-selling games qualified for platinum. That is best-selling, not necessarily the best games. But in any case, there is another 6th generation console that we need to talk about real quick. I only own one though, so it's gonna be quite brief. For I own one game on the, at the time, newest addition to the console family, and that is the original Xbox. So if you weren't one of those adopters that decided they wanted to get Sony's endeavor into the 6th generation market, maybe you wanted to give a chance to the new guy on the block. Because remember, well, okay, sadly I'm gonna have to preface this as well, I don't own a GameCube, so I can't really, you know, talk about that. I do know they have like those little mini DVD things. So yeah, there's that. I can't really comment on that. If you guys want to explain to me what you would get with a GameCube, then by all means. If you're gonna show me the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller, don't bother telling me about it. Just send me that thing because I want it. But if you didn't have any of those, you got the original Xbox. This is the only game that I own on the system, and it's also very, like, how am I gonna explain it? It's a very nostalgic thing as well, because this was the very first game I ordered online through a courier. So we have this place called Bob Shop, which is essentially, you can almost consider it to be like the Craigslist or eBay equivalent for South Africa, and this was the first game I got on there, because I saw it for a good price. I always wanted to play original Xbox games because I was still playing my 360 at the time. And aside from the game itself, the game was actually pretty good. And that holds like a nostalgic value. I have to preface first, since I was putting this on my original Xbox, the disc isn't in there. So there's your little teaser as to what you're supposed to see. Green inside, so that it looks like, I don't know, a DVD case you'd see from Shrek. But here you go, the original Xbox version of Spider-Man. So there you got that little classic Xbox logo up there with the massive X thing there. We got Elspa back again, rest in peace. I don't know why you shut down. I'm sure 11 Plus was fine. I don't think you spread any misinformation. So at the back here, I almost feel like they put more space. So like there's all the other stuff here, like there's the colors that say the arcade stick, a memory unit, because I think back with the original Xbox controller, there was a slot in the controller where you used to save. I think mine has a hard drive in. I don't know if it's rigged. I don't know if it's modded. I just bought the thing secondhand. Don't ask me. But in any case, so there you have all the screenshots, those CG renders go beyond the movie. Original or official movie merchandise. This was a Treyarch developed game, by the way. You know, the people that make the good Call of Duties nowadays? Depending how you feel about Black Ops Cold War, but they made the best Call of Duty games, unquestionably, with Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, you get the idea. This is where they started. They also developed Spider-Man 2, one of the most well-known at the time. Well, did I say Spider-Man 2 or Black Ops 2? Sorry, like my brain farted for a second. But they made Spider-Man 2 what people consider to be one of the best games in this generation and best superhero game. So if we go over here to the manual, there you get a much more cleaner look of how the box art is supposed to look. There you see Activision, the back of it that says the official Activision hints, tips, and cheats line. Oh! So if you wanted to cheat in your video game you at the time might have spent $50 to $60 on, then you could just call the devs themselves to help you cheat. Lovely. What a great time to be alive. But yeah, also now I'm seeing here, this is also all printed in black and white. So there you have everything, but it's still something to read. You see like the production art, there's stuff that they describe the gallery, all that stuff. Only exceptional difference this time, of course. Now you got the Xbox controller. I think this was still the Duke controller, if anyone remembers that. The chunky fuck controller, as some people might call it. There's your console, there's the obvious stuff there. And again, this is effort that they put in here. Even though it's in black and white, it had so much stuff that you could read. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might find this in a later thing. It was like, one of my favorite things to read is if, well, okay, this wasn't rated by PAL. So when you get to like, this is a PAL, but I mean like it wasn't rated by PEGI. So let's go back to a PEGI thing over here. So this is how the PEGI logo used to look. It looks much different now, as we will see. They had like these table of contents where they described like their icons that described like what content is in a game, whether it be drugs, alcohol, violence, gore, bad language, all that stuff. I used to always love reading those because I don't know if they showed what they all said at the back. Like they showed like the icon and then what that represented at the back. But there was this table of contents in the manual where they described it, and I just loved reading what all they meant, like what all those icons meant. But yeah, that is my only original Xbox game that I own. I do own more, but they're digital on the Xbox One and Series S, so I can't exactly put those on here for you guys to have a look at, so yes, we're shit out of luck. But in any case, time to jump over from the 6th generation of consoles and onto back to the other camera. Deviating from consoles a little bit, don't just think that they were the only ones that offered you a little bit of value when you went out of your way to go and buy them. No, for as you see, the handheld market had just as much to offer, only this time in a much smaller form factor. And the best console I have to show this is the good old-fashioned, old school, whatever the hell the right word is, PSP. So as you can see, I do have like a good collection of games over here, some of which you'll recognize, some of which I think it like goes through. Okay, if this is the case, then what I said earlier might have been a lie. But in any case, so here's like the original boxes. This is the original boxes all the way from, I don't know when these games came out, to I believe 2010. Here's your Platinum variant, and there's the Essentials. Now Essentials, I said, started only during the PS3 era. And if this came out before that, then I was lying through my teeth. But in any case, back in the days, when you wanted to play certain games on the go and you just didn't want to always sit in front of the couch and just play TVs hunched over and probably cause yourself scoliosis, then you got one of these little bad boys here. Now, I unfortunately do not own a 3DS or a DS, just to keep that in mind for the future of this video, but I do have this thing and I absolutely love my PSP. Now, these aren't all the games that I own, but these are the interesting ones that I want to talk about. So the first one over here, and I find this very interesting, and this is Tales of Eternia. So you guys might know the Tales of series is probably the closest thing to a successful RPG franchise next to Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. But this is a port from the PlayStation 1 version, and this is a fucked secondhand copy, like all this gunk and shit on there, like, oh my goodness, this this is quite interesting. But yeah, this was a port from the PlayStation 1 game over to the PSP, and I think this was the only way you could play that PS1 version on the like overseas. That's where they put this. And the PSP, like a lot of people would say it failed because it had like too much of an emphasis on JRPGs like this, and I love this game, but I could see the point. Like, I don't think you want to just buy a console for the sake of one genre. How true that is, I'm not sure, but yeah, this game I got at the thrift store very old, which I find interesting. This is a Namco developed game, so this is before Bandai Namco, I think. Yeah, no, this was still back when they were just known as Namco, and I see Ubisoft published this, so this was quite interesting. You see, going back and looking through these things, it shows you like the history of how these games, like, you know, when they came out and who needed to publish them at the time, back when the developers was just like one company. Like, I didn't even mention this with Final Fantasy when it was just Squaresoft. It's interesting to look back at these because like these are like literal ancient relics. But in any case, that sleek little PSP design over there, PlayStation logo there, game box art. We got another one with PEGI. Let's see, as you can see there, yeah, that little icon there of the fist and the shattered glass or whatever the fuck it was supposed to be. This was the violence. So this shows you that it's violence. Now we know what the Tales of games are. If you played Symphonia, Vesperia, Berseria, or most recently Tales of Arise, these games aren't that violent, so they only constituted for one warning. But yeah, there you go. Like, just like the PlayStation 2, it has like this sleek, nice font here at the side, white background with a black font, beautiful. This black little bar over here with the PSP logo, all that stuff, and everything else like here at the back. One player. You needing the, I don't remember if it was a proprietary thing that you needed to save your games on the PSP, but they still fit all of the stuff that you would get from the consoles at the time. So if we take a look here, so there you have the screenshots, the features, the description of the game. It's just like they were, so even if you were just like a mobile gamer at the time, you still got value out of owning these things physically. And another time capsule to talk about here, this was back when, look, I think we aren't like too like weirded out with having like cartridge-based or weird ways to play your games nowadays, but this was the PSP's way how you were able to watch movies or play games at the time, is by owning this UMD. So remember, PSPs had like, they were backloaded. It's like you gave the PSP back shots, I guess is the best way to say. You open that thing up at the back, pop this little fucker right in there, and then you are ready to go. So it's funny because it has like this little outer shell with everything on it. Like, I see it's just PG here, like I don't know what this is supposed to belong to. It still has everything on a main DVD disc or CD disc, because you can still slightly, I think, see Namco, who the publisher is, what system you're playing on, the game's name, and a little bit of the art. But now it's all just compacted into this little cartridge thing that you would just slot in. Disc would start spinning through here. I accidentally touched it, so it's probably a little bit smudged, but it's fine. And you would put everything, and that's just how you played PSP games. So this is a PEGI-owned thing. So here you have another cleaner look at the box art. If it got too smudged here, Namco, Ubisoft, games art, beautiful. Look at this. And since this was PEGI, there you go. Look at this. There it showed the age ratings that there was, along with what each and every single one of these things, these icons represented, and parental control levels apparently rated based on the age rating. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to mean. It's not exactly like if you were buying your kid this anyway, I don't think you were really paying much attention to what like parental level you would have needed to if you got like your 7-year-old a 12 plus game. I don't know, some parents might be like that, I'm not sure. Remember, nowadays kids that are 7 years old play GTA 5, so it goes to show that these age ratings were more just like a guide. And again, you got everything that you did from the console, except now just in a smaller book. So this is an original print. So it makes me wonder, so this was also all printed in black and white, so I don't know if this was around the time when they were just like, you know, let's save some ink and shit like that, because we have to print millions of these things for people to buy. So let's just have everything be in black and white. But yeah, everything is here. All the flippin' like stuff you'll need to learn about the game, the controls. I don't know if they have like character bios. And even this time now I see, this is when you'll notice, like these sticker booklets, what do you call it? These sticker booklets at the time, would usually, they wouldn't house like something special, except in a few cases. Nowadays, they just have it so that they are split up into different like languages. So that way they can also probably save, I don't know, save on time of like printing separate books for separate regions with their language. So here's the customer service line. And the thing that I don't understand why most games did this, I almost ripped that, I would have screamed. But in any case, they had this notes section for fuck only knows what. Maybe nowadays, in hindsight, looking back to this, you could have like written down cheats and shit. But I guess it's just like to write down your notes so that you can talk about your thoughts on the game, where you last were, what you were doing. I don't know what they would expect you to do with this little tiny sleeve of paper here. But yeah, that's just how portable gaming was back in the day, and if you were an owner of the PSP, this is what you would get. I guess, like, okay, so now we're getting into the more collectible aspects of things. So you would have noticed that there was gunk and all the residue from the stickers and shit. This is the one problem with owning games secondhand, because as you can see here, there are like freaking initials etched into this thing with like a Sharpie, which I think you can clean off. But then you have the slip, like you'd have the barcode that showed you the price. This one was fucking cheap, dude. I don't remember where I bought this one specifically. And then you also get these extra stickers here, like the barcode, and then another sticker that just showed. I watch a YouTube channel called Metal Jesus Rocks. He's almost at 1 million subscribers, and he's my favorite video game collecting channel. One thing that he did, I think it was on video game collecting pet peeves. He mentioned that he hates stickers, but one of his friends always keeps stickers on, because in his eyes it shows a history, and I'm inclined to believe that. Because even when you buy the stuff used, so let's see, yeah, I don't know who the hell AS is. Thanks for your copy of Daxter, by the way. This game is goated to play it. because this was the barcode that we scanned when I bought it, but below it, there's another sticker, so that could probably indicate where it got like a price cut possibly. Here's another sticker that shows the game's age rating, which is useless because now it covered up more than it did any good. There's another one, Daxter PSP with a barcode. There's another Shops like sticker. There's a holographic sticker that PlayStation games were well known for, even from the PS1. It just shows such a great history of like everything that like, how am I gonna explain this? It just shows like a history of where this copy was throughout its life, from its owner, I'm assuming that's what the Sharpie mark was for, through all the stores that it was sold at, the prices it was sold at. This is just great. And this is also apparently, by the looks of it, this seems to be like one of the few instances that we got internal art. I guess like we got art, like reversible art, for when you open this up. So I find that quite interesting. So I guess in this case, it showed like the city port, Haven City, Daxter on his fucking fumigator, I guess. Is that what it is? I know he's an exterminator in this thing, so, and all sorts of other locations, I'm assuming. So this is another case, like, even once you're done looking at this, looking at the manual, looking at the features at the back, reading up all the shit, admiring the stuff that's inside the manual. This is also black and white, it would seem, so I just don't know when they decided to print this shit in color. But look at that. Then you still had more art to like look at when you purchased this. So yeah, that's just like interesting. But like the historical value of like, what is this? This was also Ready at Dawn that made this. Apparently there's also a website called yourpsp.com, and this game was 1 to 2 players, 160 kilobytes, minimum storage. And it's wireless compatible with 2 players. So remember, like the PSP had ad hoc where you connect to each other and then play multiplayer games that way. I don't know what the hell you would need that with Daxter for, but still, it was a novelty, so you and a friend who were both excited for this game could get it. Another game that I have here that I guess like I'm not going to really repeat myself too much, Twisted Metal Head-On, PEGI rating of 12, which, is this 12? Yes, there should be 12. This is probably, I think, way before the Twisted Metal series went full edgy with black. So here's another one of the internal arts. Look, now it just showed you off every single one of your characters. The UMD kind of blocks it, so let's see. I was looking at a picture the other day. Who's the villain? No, I don't, Mr. Grimm. I was trying to figure out who the main villain's name was from Twisted Metal, or not villain, but like he's the guy that grants you the wishes once you finish the races. But yeah, again, internal art, stuff to look at, just a novelty to keep. Wait, let's actually look at something. Oh, this is just freaking kick-ass levels of like grimy art. This also really encapsulates the time. No, it's in color. Look, everything, the rustiness, the character bios. Look, the character colors and their car. Is the power-ups here? The power-ups! All this was in color! So I don't know, dude. I guess it was just a luck of the draw if you got something. This is probably... Again, I'm not going to really repeat too much about everything. Also, I love this little... No, they don't even have that notch over here. Right, featuring 2 to 6 players. Okay, that's interesting. Nice feature to add on the top. This is probably the most freshest, brand new copy of a game that I own. So much so, I do have something... I want to look at it real quick. Oh, I was right. Okay, never mind. So I see like this is a PSP exclusive game, and it's God of War Ghost of Sparta. I should probably have shown Chains of Olympus first, because that came out first. But this is still like the freshest brand new thing. This was a hand-me-down from my brother. Oh my goodness, and look at these. I didn't even look at the sides of these. Let me see, Daxter. Yeah, look at these. If you didn't get like these versions that like look like almost every single PS2 game with just a white background and a black font and shit, you get the art on the side. So like here's Daxter on his fumigator or his shitting cannon. I don't know what this thing is. Then you get like a little bit the white clean font that and like art that I guess like wraps around from the main front cover. And then you still, like in Ghost of Sparta's case, like this is like the brand newest one because my brother bought this on the PSP at the time. It showed everything. So like this was also Ready at Dawn that made this, I think. If you don't know who that is, they made Daxter, they made Chains of Olympus, they made The Order 1886. I don't know what they make nowadays, but that's what they were known for. But this is like the brand newest thing at the time when you wanted a companion piece to God of War 3, which came out at the same year. So everything is here that you need, and including like, this is what I find interesting too though. This is a brand new print, but they have like the silver-ish box. So that's kind of interesting to speculate. Why is this one not in the like transparent boxes that PSP games are known for? I'm not sure about that. Even Daxter, which was a Jak and Daxter spin-off, like this even had like the same treatment. So that's quite interesting because you'll see now with Chains of Olympus, this is the platinum version. It's the same. It's the same. So I wonder why they did it for this one, but this is the original print. In any case, what you also notice here, this is the first time PEGI changed their logo from just being the standard whitish font, which you will see here on Chains of Olympus now, to the red. So there's 3 versions that I know about. There is the original one, which we've seen. There's this one where there is no text in the background, and then there was one where there is text. I don't know if I have a copy of that here, but I'll point that out if we get to it. So yeah, God of War, Ghost of Sparta, look how clean this thing is. Even here, like, let's see, is this black? This is black and white, I don't know anymore. But in any case, also available. At the time, these were the 2 ones that you could get on the PS3. God of War 3, which came out the same year, and the God of War collection, which I do think I own, but I will get to that much later in the video. But yeah, even here I see like you got exclusive demo skin for God of War 3. So you even apparently seem to have DLC codes when, well, it is DLC. DLC codes when you bought this version of the game. So that's really interesting, I have to say. And now we get to the Platinum version, which again has the exact same issues as the PlayStation 2 Platinum Edition. It has this frame that kind of like shrinks down the cover art. Hang on. No, since, yeah, as you can see, like without this transparent art, you can't have like that cool internal reversible cover, which, yeah, okay, that's quite interesting. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe it is there, but you wouldn't be able to see it because it's solid. So yeah, there you go. The PSP thing in silver, the platinum, the squished down cover art, which pisses me off because this thing looks amazing. This is why I like the original prints more, because you could admire the box art that you got with it. You got the exact same stuff we've mentioned. The old PEGI logo that has like the white background and the black font. Very cool. There you have, I guess, okay, fun fact, this is my favorite game on the PSP to play, so I guess I was playing that. And okay, so here's an interesting thing, and I want to look at the box art here for, okay, so no, this is the same. So, what I find interesting, again, this goes to show, like, you had novelty in buying these physical editions, because as well, you will remember that video games had separate box art based on whatever region you were staying at. So this is the version we got in PAL territories, and this was the US variant. So I guess like it might work the same way if you lived in the States and you got whatever the PSP's equivalent of Platinum was there in the States. So maybe when you opened up the cover, then you would have gotten this. Both of them look great. It's really a matter of preference. And here, what I find very interesting, at the back of Ghost of Olympus, Chains of Olympus's box is coming soon to the PlayStation 3. Yeah, this was the first instance, one of the first instances, I believe, where they teased God of War 3. So this is also a great time capsule because this was in 2008, and I'm gonna keep saying this is a great time capsule because, what do you call it? It just encapsulates everything around that time when Ready at Dawn made God of War games, when God of War games were still getting released on the PSP. It's just great, and these games, both God of War, Ghost of Sparta, and Chains of Olympus, showed that you just literally could have a great AAA experience on the go, because these games are almost indistinguishable from their PS2 counterparts. So it's really cool to look back on these games and what they were able to do back then. And as you can see, with it not being there, that's in my PSP, so I actually still play Chains of Olympus on the original hardware. And now for the final thing, here's the Essentials line. So as I've said, most people might probably know what PlayStation Essentials are on the PS3. One thing I really like about the the American version of the PlayStation Essentials, I think that's where they had the red boxes on the side like this and not just the label at the front. But in any case, I don't know what's the difference between Platinum and Essentials. I'm guessing Essentials is just, hey, you bought the system, guess what? You can get this too. So yeah, it's pretty much, but like in the back, it seems like everything's pretty untouched. You have the spine that has like this weird pattern on it. I don't even know what this pattern is supposed to represent. If it's supposed to represent anything by that matter. But yeah, there you go. It's gonna be an eyesore on the shelf, but the game was still amazing. This is probably the brand newest one because I bought this thing brand new for super cheap at like one of our tech stores like a few towns over when they were still selling games, I think. Unfortunately, no reversible art, but still everything here is accounted for. Yeah, this is in black and white, so nothing much there. But yeah, that is the PSP equivalence that shows that even if you decided to downsize and play things portably, you still had value in owning these these physical editions. And even look at these, like little mini DVD boxes. And even remember back around the time there were UND equivalents of movies. So you could watch, from my knowledge, there was King Kong on the go at any time. And just tell me how cool it wouldn't be to watch something like that and through something like this. Yes, you kind of have a lot of lost potential. They could have like done a like GameCube thing, because if you fuck up this thing or your PSP, you're kind of just like stuck with the shell with a tiny disc inside of it. So future-proofing might be a bit of a problem, but yeah, still a cool novelty. And I just rubbed on the disc again, so I smudged it. Yippee, I am very smart. But any case, before we move on back to consoles and move on to a new generation, I have a very honorable thing that I would like to bring up to everybody's attention. And once again, this will be a perfect time capsule to where gaming was back when these things were released. Any case, back to the normal count. Now, before we jump generations, I just kind of want to give an honorable mention here with the advent of Steam back in 2003 that made getting PC games nowadays a simple breeze. It's just like the most common thing that we do now if you play any games on PC. There was a time when PC games themselves also had some physical editions you could buy. And I have quite a few interesting ones. I just need to reach in behind my light that I would like to bring to your attention. Because yes, these are physical PC games, and there's quite a lot that we need to cover here. So Big Box goes over here. You already saw what it is, but any case, let's put it over there and you can just ponder what I'm gonna say about it. So in my lifetime, there's been a bunch of like PC game variants that I used to buy physically. As you can remember, PCs back in the day, you know exactly what frickin' your family's old office PC looks like. There was a CD or DVD-ROM, you would pop one of these fuckers in there and that's how you would play your game. So these two, okay, I have two over here that I'd like to call just the DVD thin box version. So it looks like a PlayStation 2 game, or as like I've just mentioned, it's a DVD box essentially. So basically, yeah, this was the original, I couldn't speak there. This is the original Lego Star Wars that came out back in 2005. And once again, what I find interesting, this was published by Eidos. Now, I know it's Traveler's Tales who publish it now, like who make the games. But when it comes to like every other, I think it was Warner Brothers that may have bought them on. I'm not 100% sure, but that's still interesting because I didn't know that Eidos once upon a time used to publish it. Maybe it was just the PC version that they did, but I found that to be very interesting. So yeah, there you go. You've got all the equivalents, like you got all the important shit that you need. You got the front and the back box art, whatever this tagline's supposed to be, the features, the screenshots, all is there. But what I find more interesting is like back in these days, we had specs that we needed to read. So here it showed everything like the operating system, Windows, I can't even read that shit, it's so small. Well, I can just read XP. I don't think that this is an MS-DOS PC. So you needed a CD-ROM to play this. They showed you the processor, sound card, memory, hard disk. This needed a whopping 2 gigabytes of storage to save. You needed a 3D card. And again, like I've said, once again, I'm gonna say this a bunch of times, this is a time capsule because it also shows you, like, back in the day, if you wanted to run Lego Star Wars the video game on your PC, what the optimal amount of specs were back that you needed in order to run it efficiently. So there's really not much. I don't know if there were any booklets that really came with a PC. Usually I think with the PC version of a game, if you put the disc inside your PC, that would show you like a README, and I think that would go through that would go through a README and showed you all the important stuff from there. So I guess if those things were in black and white, then I truly have no more hope. But yeah, there's our disc. Very plain and simple. I bought this from a store called Musica. If you remember my bolt gun video, I discussed about it, like it being the first place where I saw a Warhammer 40k product. But yeah, this is what we got. This is a CD-ROM, which I find fascinating because I thought, like, this was in 2005. So this would have been long around the time that, you know, DVD-ROMs would have been around. But I guess, like, this game was so small, possibly, that maybe they just decided, you know what, let's just opt for it. Nowadays, this is just a novelty, and I just absolutely adore having this thing just to relive the nostalgic memories that I have from not only the store that I, you know, got it from. I also knew I bought this thing for super cheap, but I never could play it. I don't know why. We were able to play so many other games that were more graphically intensive with this than this, but I guess this is one just never wanted to work. But I'm starting to think it's because I put it through a DVD-ROM. I don't know if that would cause any compatibility if I put it through a DVD-ROM and not a CD-ROM, but yeah, this is Lego Star Wars, the original in 2005. I've watched a few videos on it, and it's like listing all the differences between the complete saga, but just rather get the complete saga. This one is just more for novelty sakes. And speaking of, I'm just gonna get in frame here. Speaking of novelty sakes, goodness, did you know that this was something that existed? The physical PC edition of Angry Birds. Now, this in and of itself is just interesting to me, because we've played this thing either on our phone, you may have downloaded it on PC, I'm not sure, but who would have thought that there was a physical PC version? Look at Red. This looks so cool, dude. Like, do you understand, like, what a relic this has to be? Like, back in the day, I don't know who in the right minds would spend, like, $60. Well, I mean, there was the Angry Birds Star Wars on console. That might be a good example. But, like, who would spend, like, normal game prices on something like Angry Birds when you can just pay, like, a slight premium to get it on mobile phones or stuff like that? But this is so interesting, and as you can expect, it's Angry Birds on PC. Probably the best place where you could play it, if I'm not even gonna lie. So this is just interesting because I don't even know, like, what the mindset. I guess this was a self-published Rovio thing, or was this Focus? I think this is Focus. Focus Multimedia. These, I think, are the people that nowadays own Warhammer games, I think. Not like the actual Warhammer, but like the games, the publishers. But this is quite interesting. Like, look there. The survival of the Angry Birds is at stake. Just the fact that you have a disc with Angry Birds on it. Let me just flip that right so you can see. With Angry Birds. This is insane. But also, this brings back a thing from old PC games that I really do not miss nowadays. Like, if I'm going through the mindset, and at the time, nowadays it's not that big of a problem. If you can look at this little slip over here. This was, I don't know if you can see in great detail. Again, I'm sorry for it not focusing and me needing to explain. These were the codes that you needed to type in when you put this disc and you wanted to install PC games. I do not miss this because essentially, like, there's a lot of cases where I'll explain like this at the end, so put a pin in this. But let's just say I don't miss that aspect whatsoever. Here's another one. I do have another one with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire game on PC that was also like this. So I'm assuming this was a EA published kind of thing, I'm thinking. But these were like the thick boy PC ones. This is probably the most interesting thing I own. So interesting to the fact that I don't have the discs anymore, but I do still have the little pamphlet, and once again, that little thing over there, that's the code you need to type in to install The Sims 2 Seasons. And if you are a Sims connoisseur, much like yours truly, even look at this. Like you needed 2 discs. I think one was the install disc and one was the play disc. And they even have like the EA Sports and EA Games logo like etched into the cover. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, another thing, once again, a time capsule of around the time, The Sims. Everybody's played this probably at least once, whether you're an OG like me that played the first games, and we will see soon now after this, or the second one. But as you can see, this is back in the day. I don't know if there is really a difference between the two mediums. This was an expansion pack that you would need to buy separately to get more content for the game. So this was obviously the seasons pack, where it would change seasons from summer all the way through to winter and all that stuff. So this is also interesting that you had to physically go out of your way to buy a physical box with its own art, own screenshots, spec sheets, all that shit, in order to just get access to new content. Like I said, I don't know if expansion packs and DLCs go in the same way. Nowadays, like DLCs or anything like this would just be paid in a store, and it would be, I'm just checking my mic's still fine, is like paid. Fuck it, I don't know how to say. Pay and you download it. Pay, download the stuff. Like, you know, the Witcher DLCs or Dragon Age Origins DLCs, all that kind of shit. But this was just a sign of the time, everybody. You needed to go to a store to basically buy a physical box that you still got, something to put on the shelf, frickin' front, side, back, all this shit, and just look at it just to access more, more content for your base game that you own. I do not know for shit what happened to my base Sims 2, but I at least have a remnant to remind me of the thing that I have once lost. I do have one that's also from EA, so it's Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire. I couldn't find it for this video, but it's pretty much the same thing overall. I don't know if it had 2 discs too, like this, but yeah, that is another thing. Now this is a very special case to me, very, very special, because this is a big motherfucker. The Sims Full House. Is this that? I think that's an MA+. I don't know what age rating this is supposed to be. So this is almost essentially the very first time I had what you could assume is a collector's edition, because this entire Full House equivalent, this entire big box, look at all this. You get to see all the stuff, screenshots, descriptions, the names, all that kind of stuff by just buying this equivalent. And you get The Sims 1, normal, original. I wish I had something funny to say about it, but I can't. All the way to the Making Magic one, which was the last one, and then a next preview of The Sims 2. This is insane. The problem is, though, that I have with it, so it was essentially held in this wooden box right here, and unfortunately, let's see if there is any remnants of the original discs around here. Oh, we got luck. I think that's House Party, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. We unfortunately it is House Party. I remember the shit. Look here. So this is essentially what you would get it in. You would get the disc in the slip with its code that you needed to type in to install it right here on the back. So that was a bit underwhelming, but still, you got every single Sims game. I dropped that thing. I'm like just so flabbergasted. I'm getting old. You got the Sims one with every single one of its expansions. I don't know how freaking much this cost back in the day. I was still very young when we got this. But this thing will always be a part of my history, and will show you this is probably the closest thing we could get to a collector's edition on PC at the time. It's insane. And this is just such a huge novelty to have all the art. It's just the game's logo reoriented in different dimensions, but then you read all this. I remember on the car ride back home, I just read all this shit and was just so hyped and excited to play this. It's just literally a sign of the time, and it's something I'm super happy I still own. Most of the discs I probably lost, unfortunately, but that's just a sign of the time, and an issue I will talk about much later, so put another pin in this situation. But yeah, this is an insane thing, and it goes to show, back in the day, PC games also needed discs in order to get games up and running. I do have more games. I was hoping to show my original copy of Rayman 2 and Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, but I couldn't find them in time. But yeah, this was just how PC gaming was back in the day, if you didn't use Steam. Steam is definitely the more convenient option, and there are still some remnants. If you buy an older game on Steam, like you getting its code digitally that you need to punch in. But yeah, this is how all that actually started. But in any case, let's go back to consoles for a little bit, and to introduce that, back to the other camera. Now going from the peasant PC master race back to consoles, we now move over to what is undoubtedly one of Sony's biggest flops, but at the end of the day still turned into one of the best consoles from the 7th generation, the PlayStation 3. I forgot to actually pick out some PS3 games to illustrate my point, but that has been rectified. So if you were one of those that If you are one of the early adopters of Sony's newest console at the time, you have my condolences. I'm sorry you had to spend like 500, 600 bucks on something that had no games. Also, this is not sponsored, but I have a sore throat because I've been yapping for almost 3 hours. I don't know if that's ASMR worthy, but whatever. But yes, even back then, there was still a lot of value to be had if you were just like going out of your way to buy yourself a PS3. First and foremost, you got this nice new sleek design. This is more akin to like how the Blu-ray boxes look. Much smaller, but still as compact and still filled with shit in it as anything else. So there's a few things with PlayStation 3 that we need to also go over. And we're gonna also do this with another 7th generation console later. That there's kind of like 4 ways how I can like talk about. I didn't get every single one of the games that illustrate this point, but like I think there's like 4 distinct things you need to keep in mind when you're looking at the PS3. Is that it had like a few revisions throughout its lifespan, and I will talk about that now. And it's mainly just to do with the logo. So I believe this first game we're going to talk about was one of the first original. Well, like I said, it's a launch title for the PlayStation 3, and this is Gundam Target Insight. This game is shit. That's the major reason why I wanted to buy it. I needed to actually own. This was not only just a launch title, but at the very least, at the same time, had some novelty because it was one of the worst launch titles to come out for the system. Now, what I want you to keep in mind, so here we have the Blu-ray box, all that stuff. This was like one of those earlier ones, so there wasn't really as much. Maybe we can start seeing here is the cracks to like physical media getting less effort put, because look at this little piece of art, 2 screenshots, all these words, like this is probably just the same exact sentence in except now it's just repeated in other languages, and now the rest of the box is just there's like this humongous white space over here and then just text. So have a look at that. Text that I do not give a shit about. But even then, so like we still had at least something to work with. So we had like the entire like plot summary of the game. For some reason nowadays I see what do you call it? I don't know if they did this with other games. I didn't even really look, but they specify what language the game is. As you can see, like there, it's showing you that game is in English. Although I hope you at the very least know your flags, because if you don't, you're not going to know what language this is in. But yeah, then you saw things like the single player icon. Like single player, it takes about a meg or 151 kilobytes of space on your hard drive. And since this is a PAL game, and since this was like around the time when HDMI was starting to become like the standard, it would show you like, I don't know if you can see that very well. It would show you the resolution of what the game could be played at. So we all know this from the PlayStation 3. Like it was very hard to develop for when it originally came out. So most of the games could only like basically be played at 720p because that's what they were designed for. And there are more shit over here. I think this was like an online thing, but you wouldn't be able to tell that if you looked at this jizz stain of a sticker residue. I hope that's sticker residue. Any case, but like what we need to bring up now is the first difference that you would no doubt notice when you buy originally released PlayStation 3 games versus how they are now. So here you have the Blu-ray logo etched in very nicely. This was technology that was outstanding for the time and kicked the shit out of HD DVDs, as we all know. PlayStation 3 logo etched here. I don't know. I always have to keep making sure I show this off quite nicely. If you can't see it, just take my word for it. But you'll also notice this was the old logo for the PlayStation 3. This, I'm convinced you can still see quite nicely. I'm just gonna flip it backwards just in case you guys see it easier this way. I will edit this, don't worry. But this was what we all... Apparently this was a point of criticism at the time, because the PlayStation 3's original font and logo was just literally the Spider-Man font, like the Sam Raimi's, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which I find funny. That's something I noticed when I was as young as like 7 or 8. I noticed that this is exactly how the Spider-Man font looked like, but it didn't make any sense to me at the time. You'd also even see like this nice red stamp of it here. And apparently this is a point of like criticism at the time, but people forget Sony Pictures owned, what do you call it? It owned Spider-Man. So, I mean, PlayStation could use it if it wanted to. But regardless, we still have all the basic stuff, except now it's all neat and updated for the new hardware. But as you can see, we got ourselves another chunky boy here. Don't know why all this stuff is here, but like I can look at these markings as like ancient hieroglyphics by its previous owner. I'm gonna try and just defend the fact that I bought this thing used. But here you go. Another nice, packed, content-filled, colorful freaking manual that you can just read through with the bells and whistles. Obviously, the fact that now it's the PlayStation 3, so it's going to probably teach you some extra stuff here, but you could still read this. Look how much effort was placed, and it's chunky again because, as I've mentioned, look at this. It's just the same stuff redone again, but this time in different languages. And as we've said, I think that was to cut costs on what do you call it? That was to cut costs on needing to probably like print separate books just based off of which region you were in. But now we come to like the first ever, to my knowledge, rebranding, and one of my favorite games as well on the system, by the way, is Dragon's Dogma, the original. Back when the fact that the game couldn't hold a stable frame rate was still excusable, unlike the second one, and before you could buy fast travel points. But any case, so here you can see the new PEGI logo. It's red. Now you can see here they have the PlayStation Network logo over there and the new redesigned PlayStation 3 logo. I think this looks better. I think it's more synonymous with or more iconic, and just represents PlayStation as a brand nowadays a lot better. And yeah, there you got that nice, beautiful, like black spine with the white text. A lot more effort put in the background. And apparently, like, there was a Facebook and Twitter thing. Let's share pawns. You can change pawns. You can change pawns, looks, and skills. Create original pawns and share them with other players on the network. Not as if I'm supposed to understand what any of that shit means, but yeah. Hell, they even had their socials linked over here. I don't know if this is... Oh, it's just the Dragon's Dogma stuff as well. For Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. When it was still a blue bird and was not shamed by Elon Musk. This was also apparently like around this time that they'd also even indicate like when a game had vibration, because I think the original DualShock 3, unless it was just the DualShock 3 or the 6-axis, I don't remember. I think the original 6-axis, where you had like the motion controls and gyroscope built into it, I think the original one had that feature, but it didn't have rumble. But then they brought out the DualShock 3 to bring back the rumble and still had the gyroscope. So it feels so bad because they had to like now advertise that would have rumble. But in any case, I also see in this one, very nice thing, and I don't know if games still do this nowadays, you would still get a demo for another game. So this was Resident Evil 6. It's kind of like if you were in more modern days, like the remaster of Final Fantasy Type 0 on the PS4 had a demo for Final Fantasy 15, which I don't know if that still works. I watched a very interesting video about that not too long ago, where a guy bought like so many copies of it. Oh, so this isn't complete either. Yippee. It feels quite hefty though, but what is this art hiding behind here? Oh, there you go! The art itself was the code for Resident Evil 6 on the PlayStation 3. So there you go. With only having everything else except the book, you could still reap the benefits of looking at a description of the game that you were getting a demo for, and that was also releasing the same year. Despite what you think about Resident Evil 6, that's not the topic of this video. Now, before we go on, I think this one should be a very good indicator. So, Now, here's also a downloadable code for Twisted Metal Black. So this was a 2012 Twisted Metal. Love this game. Truly awesome, and it's sad that we didn't get a new Twisted Metal ever since this thing came out. But yeah, it's got all the bells and whistles you'd expect, stuff to read on. Only one screenshot, unfortunately, but let's see if I have the booklet. There we go. Ooh, and looky what we got here. Oh, so here's another reversible cover that has the same, a much more enlarged version of the box, the art from the back, and then 2 screenshots. Wow. Listen, I might be knocking this, but this game is really good. So let's go ahead and look. So this is our booklet over here, all black and white. This is a little bit of a lesser. Wait, what's that guy's name again? So it's a metal tournament. Calypso, that's his name. I've been wondering what the guy's villain's name is, what this game's villain's name is. There's not really that much, so. But okay, also here it has a voucher code for Network Pass, which I'm assuming was like when you were still supposed to pay for PlayStation Plus. Well, you still have to, but I thought PS Plus was free. I think this was just when they were transitioning over. But there's your Network Pass thing if you wanted to play some Twisted Metal online. And another thing that they gave you was an online code. I don't know if this is... Maybe I messed up, because I do own Starhawk separately. I don't know if I accidentally... No, Sweet Tooth Online multiplayer skin for Starhawk. So, you even got like a little DLC code for Starhawk itself. Another PlayStation game that I think came out around the same time. Starhawk is also pretty good. Recommend that. But yeah, so unfortunately now while I'm looking at this, there's not really that much meat in here. And I feel like that's a bit problematic since this was a big budget like PlayStation exclusive. There's even a fucking sticker on the... I hate it when they do this. That's a pet peeve I'll get to later. But like, that's a bit of like where the cracks were starting to form. This was a 2012 game. Yeah, much like Dragon's Dogma, but I don't have the booklet, so I don't know how much they put in there. So this is like... But the thing is, this was a first party, only on PlayStation exclusive. So the fact that they removed such a huge chunk of that booklet, I don't have any idea. Okay, but before we get to this bad boy over here, let's talk about the original version of Platinum. So, Platinum, again, it's been a problem since... I don't know if PS4 still has Platinum editions of games. But this was the original print. There isn't probably all that much different between this and the rebranded PlayStation thing, but it has exactly the same problems. Shrunken down art, so you can have this little crappy Platinum... what do you call it? Platinum... border around it, this piss yellow color for like the logo and shit, like what do you call it, and then silver, and you can barely see the font because it's like almost like blending into one another. But still, if that doesn't bother you, much like me, I'm just like voicing my opinions on this. Only the best-selling games qualify. It seems like they had the same... Did they have the same tagline for everything? No, I guess like they only added that on PS2. I could be wrong though. But yeah, this is basically everything that you got. Also, there's the little icon for the motion control, like the controller with the arrows, showing that there is 6-axis controls on it. Let's see quickly. Yeah, this is also not a very complete version, but anyone who owns Resistance 2 should probably have a good enough idea what was in here, like we've already seen. And this was an early one, so let's have a look then. So here is the first, or the second instance, if the Ratchet & Clank on PSP game, let me quickly get it out here again. If this wasn't the first original instance that they introduced the Essentials line. Essentials, I would think, is a little less egregious. Like, I don't mind the red. I love the color red anyway. If you guys remember how my old avatar used to look at, was a red shirt, blue jeans, all that kind of shit. I love red as a color. So, what do you call it? This is what you get. It's kind of like the same thing in Platinum, but I do not understand why they decided to introduce the Essentials moniker to some of their games, when it's essentially the same thing. The best on PlayStation 3, there you go, your synopsis about God of War, all the stuff like you'd expect, taglines, screenshots. You are also jumping into the next generation of God of War. And look at this beautiful little puppy over here. Again, and okay, so I don't know how this works. This is an amalgamation of everything. This was the disc that you would get with the Platinum version of the rebranded edition of the PlayStation 3. So like I said, it's the same exact thing, it's just rebranded with the new logo. But once again, get this nice, sleek, simplistic design for God of War 3. You know what God of War is, you know what you're getting yourself into. But if you wanted more, then you can look at this beautiful, stunning piece. I think this is concept art, promotional art, whatever you want to look at it. And then once again, I see cross promotion. You could even play the, at the time, newest Quantic Dream game, Heavy Rain. Move Edition, apparently. I don't remember. Did Quantic Dream did Heavy Rain come out in 2010? I think it did. So these two games are probably released around the same time. But yeah, everything that you got, nice thing to read. What's this? The options menu, the legend lives on. What is this? Single-handedly defeated armies. If you've yet to experience in full epic brutal. So I guess this is just another cross promotion towards a few more of the God of War games. If you wanted to go back and play probably like some of the previous ones, if you only started playing this one, which is valid. But yeah, that's the essentials line. And yeah, once again, we will start. This is where we can start to see with Twisted Metal specifically, especially when you see like the contrast between a 2010 booklet and even a 2006 booklet. I don't have everything here, but we'll look at that because, like I said, I accidentally forgot to just get some PS3 games together just to indicate the kinds of things that you would get. So we might check that out later when we get to the other games. But now it is time to move over to the competitor side of the market for the 7th generation. So, by saying that, back to the other camera. Now, what was unquestionably the best game console to own during the 7th generation, we now move over to Xbox's second endeavor into the console market, the Xbox 360. So, back in 2005, if you wanted to be an early adopter for the next generation of consoles with the best graphics that you could get at the time, you would go with the Xbox 360. And much like the PlayStation 3, despite having a leap ahead of whatever the hell, okay, I don't know what I'm trying to say there. You got boxes with the games in, and there was stuff in the boxes. And once again, as I mentioned, a certain time capsule. So what I tried to do specifically, I just want to double check something. I tried to grab a game from every single possible time period from when the 360 came out, and then tried to show you like the differences in like the boxes and the years they came out and stuff like that. But in any case, regardless, let's talk about the games. So the first one we have here is one of my personal favorite horror games of all time, and that is Condemned Criminal Origins. So you can see, sleek, or it's Condemned Criminal Origins, but we called it Condemned over here. Very simple name. I don't know why the hell. Maybe we in the PAL region are just less literate, so we needed to shorten it a little bit. In any case, there you got everything here. The Sega logo, Xbox 360 thing. This was, I believe, the original print because this was the original. Back in the day, like this came out in 2005. So there you got the logo for Monolith, the people that made this. Sega, the publisher. I don't know which age rating company this is. This nice, simplistic art of the game that shows off something that is only in the game for like 5 seconds in the intro. It has that eerie sense of mystery and all that kind of stuff. And if you play Condemned 1 and 2, you know they're amazing. I absolutely love the series. And then if we go to the back, screenshots, taglines, nice description here in like typewriter style to go with the whole detective motif. This nice scratchy font and stuff like that. And now, of course, we have a new console to contend with in terms of what we can do with it. So back here, it says Players 1, 760 kilobytes per game. And here it indicates, like, remember, this is 2005. This was just around the time when HD TVs and stuff were starting to come out. So here they specify that it goes through HD TVs, and your resolutions you can select from are 480p, 720p, and 1080i. So 1080i at the time was the highest like output that you could get. Whether that was still through the component cables or if HDMI digital input was still something that you could achieve back then, I'm not sure. But that goes to show like what was the highest that the 360 could do back when it's just released. And this was 2005. So just keep that in mind. For something to have like that kind of a graphical output around the time was probably insane. And then it shows here in-game Dolby sound, leaderboards, which who gives a shit? I certainly didn't, and I don't think you should either. But any case, what do you call it? Yeah, they also show things like, I don't know what this is. There's so much weird crap also here at the side. And then it shows you condemnedgame.com. I think there was like an ARG while they were busy promoting this game. I don't know. In any case, let's open this beautiful thing up here and see what we're met with. Let me just take a sip because my throat is killing me right now. I'll refill that in a bit. Maybe in between takes. So there you go. Lovely, sleek. Look how good this looks. Basically, an extension of the box art. Nice, meaty booklet. Let's actually see if we can get this thing out. I really feel like I'm just doing unboxing videos now. Let me know if you guys want me to do certain unboxing videos. I don't even really think I'll showcase most of the interesting shit in my collection here. So there you go. Unfortunately, black and white again, but we're already used to this. Let's see what we got here. So we got a warranty, product support, and we got the hints and tips and strategy guide from Sega with this number. Like I said, I don't know if this number still works. Maybe I'll test that out at some point, but not now. But there you go. You still got the same basic essentials. I'm not really going to take out the disc, but there you go ahead and see the game logo, the rating, the console, the Xbox Live thing. It's just sleek. It's the same exact stuff we're already used to, and there was still a lot of love put into this thing. But I want to bring something to your attention as well when it comes down to buying some of these games. This, I believe, was the original print version of this game. So this came out in 2005. And you'll notice as time moved on, the Xbox's X logo right next to the name had this like sharp metallic thing, and you'll see the logo changed over time to becoming lighter and almost like translucent, and the Xbox Live thing. So that's like sometimes how when you want to identify when a game came out, you just have to look at that. So this is apparently the Xbox 360 Classics line of thing. So this is just mine for Lost Planet 1. Also a good game, by the way. Let's see what we got here. Colonies Edition. New playable characters, new multiplayer modes and maps, and new and powerful weapons. And once again, here I show you the things like the places where I bought it. It still has like that nostalgic value of the kind of stuff that where I bought this thing, where it's all been. And yeah, so, but as you can see, like the difference between this, now it's the Classics thing, now I have this green border, which almost looks like it's the actual box caked into the art. So it's not physically the box, it's just like a green border. And then you have like this weird spiral background to it, which, I mean, it works out, it looks fine. And then it goes over here as well. There's your Xbox 360 logo. Everything is silver. And if you want to see like how the box art looked without all that extra crap on it, then here you go. You just take the booklet. There's still a crap ton of stuff to read. I don't know. No, this is actually a meaty book. There's not even like and look how thick this thing is. I don't know if that's very noticeable on camera, but like you had a lot of shit that you could read in here. And I think that's just so cool. And then you just get this silver box, which, I mean, I don't know why they decided. It's essentially like a ripoff of like the PlayStation Platinum's thing at the time, but now it's Classics, and I don't know why silver was the most representative color of that at the time. But yeah, that's how it is, and we've got another one here, but I think this is a more recently at the time as well. This is also a launch title for the 360. Don't read this crap where it says Xbox 360 must buy. This game sucks. Rather play this thing on Rare Replay when you get the chance. But yeah, there you go. Same thing. Around the time you can still read that this was 1080i because this was one of the launch titles. Again, look at how much love was put into this. And looky, I think we got like a little bit of an extra thing over here. So there we have like our... here's our guide to modern combat, which I love it when they do this. Nice color illustrated, which I find interesting because this is a platinum version and yet they still have like everything in color, which I think is really cool. So it's got all the gadgets, the weapons, the characters. There's so much, despite what I think about the game, there was effort put into like trying to immerse you into like the super spy fiction that they were trying to do. First Perfect Dark is still better though. I don't know what the hell this is. I guess this is just like a customer service number, I think. So I guess like they filled in so much shit with the booklet that they needed to put the numbers and help, what do you call it? The numbers and help on a separate booklet. So yeah, but that's still quite interesting. I like that. Now let's see what more we have here. I want to save, like, you've probably seen this, but let's have a look. So, okay, here I think this is going to be one of those last instances, I think personally, where you'll see like the darker X logo on the 360, and like this is one of the more old school things. This is Conan, which I don't know if you guys have played this. It's basically like a God of War clone based on Conan the Barbarian. Came out in 2007, which meant that there were women's tits flying everywhere. So if you are a little bit of a horn dog, then I guess like that's a positive for you. And look at this. Like, there you go again with the nice illustrated thing, sadly black and white. Everything, there was so much passion put into this thing, all the things that you come to expect. And then look at this. I see like there's 2 advertisements. So here, Frontlines Fields of War, another goated game that I actually do own. I really like this game. And then Stuntman Ignition. So you got hyped for reading up the game you just bought, despite if the game ended up being good or not. I don't know if showing this box art is gonna get me banned or not. But still, then you could even look into other games that you might be interested. And yeah, like this game is amazing. I don't know about Stuntman Ignition. I've never played that. You guys let me know. I want to actually try playing the Stuntman games. And again, the extra art that you can get, the reversible cover, that is just like, there's just so much packed into this, and it looks so sleek when you get it with the original box art, like the original 360 logo there, that logo like on the spine. It just looks so much better. Like, I absolutely love it. Okay, so here I just want to look at something. Yeah, okay, perfect. So here we get to like have a little bit of a look at one of the newer release things. Like, funnily enough, I just noticed all 3 of these following games came out in 2013. So here's Metal Gear Rising. So we all know how amazing this game is. It got like a resurgence in 2022 thanks to memes. So you got everything there, cut at will. This is where we started seeing a difference, like this more darker green motif when it came to showing things off like Xbox Live and stuff like that. And I guess like they decided to like make it more white here instead of like having it baked into the color of the art, so they cut it off there. Then you got that sweet freaking art from Yoji Shinkawa, screenshots about the memes, and like that little, what do you call it, this little plot synopsis and the cut at will thing. I think I remember about this. My brother bought me this, and don't try stealing this because I already have it. So there is a DLC pamphlet. Give me one sec, there we go. The DLC pamphlet where you could play as Gray Fox from Metal Gear Solid 1. And I think his skin is actually like in the games now. What do you call it? Let me see. Yeah, and there's the code over there. This was one of the first DLCs that I think I redeemed. And you get him and the Fox Blade, I think it was called. But yeah, then you can get Gray Fox. I still don't know where this picture is from. I don't know if it's from Metal Gear Solid 1. I'm not 100% sure. But still, this was pretty awesome to actually type in. And once again, as you can see, like this is also like a sign of the time, since this was like 2013. Look at how flippin' skinny this thing is. It needs, I don't know, a chicken meal or McChicken burger or something, but it still has all that personality, like your characters. It has like that simplistic art style that Metal Gear was well known for. It still has that like weird notes section that I do not think anyone ever actually used. And if you're trying to collect games and resell them at a higher price, I hope you didn't. But yeah, that was Metal Gear Rising. But as you can see, when you look at the Xbox 360 logo and like the logo, these are just like little minor changes I noticed. They're not really that big of a deal. So let me show you here real quick. Like you'll notice here, the X looks a lot more brighter now than it used to. And as you could tell, like this entire wave part here, which I think looks so much better, also takes over like the Xbox Live thing. I think they were trying to still, since this was a new service, they wanted to like promote it more, but since Xbox Live became part of like the normal ecosystem, I guess like they just thought that it's best to get rid of it. And if you watched my Skull and Bones video, thank you very much. And here's the game that I sourced and referenced heavily into it. So there's Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and as you can see what I meant, like it looks more translucent. Like look there, that's how the X looks there, a lot more darker of a green. Yeah, the green itself is a lot more darker, so it makes the logo pop a little bit more. And the circle around the X looks a lot more lighter. But yeah, there's also apparently a bestseller, but there you go, you still have every single thing that you would want. There's your booklet, there's your advertisement for, at the time, the newest game, Watch Dogs, and apparently this came with 2 discs. I think one was the multiplayer disc, because remember, 360 didn't really have enough space. Yeah, this is the multiplayer disc, if you didn't want to play single player. It's just a shame that the multiplayer game that was based off of this game absolutely sucked. Now, speaking of... Now, going to our final game for the 360 section for now, and our last game for 2013, here's the big boy. Probably one of the best box arts that stayed consistent throughout its entire series, GTA fucking 5. So yeah, amazing art. I don't know who the artist is, but it's consistent. But they kept it minimalistic here. I have a reason why I think so. So there you see Rockstar Games Presents and Rockstar North Production, your descriptions of Los Santos, your online features, all the stuff that you come to know, all your rating stuff, screenshots of the game. Let's have a look real quick. This is probably where the downfall started. This is probably where it started. Yeah, there's your atomic blimp, like a DLC thing that you got. I already redeemed mine. Not that that meant anything. Here you literally have got where I'd say this is where I think this little pitiful flippin' brochure of a 2-star hotel is what you would get to read on your way back. Yippee, I always wanted to know how a 360 controller looked, or the Rockstar Social Club. At least this was before they had their own launcher, so you have to give them that. But I do believe it's because most of the effort for this was placed in something that is a staple of almost every single GTA game since the PS2, I am convinced. Maybe they were on the PS1, I don't know. But you know what that is? It is the actual fucking map of the game. So let me go to my other camera and show you this. Here is my original map I got from GTA 5 back in 2013. Do you understand like how insane this is? I do own Red Dead Redemption 2 physically as well, and that also came with a physical map of that game world. But like, hell am I gonna fucking risk ruining that like I did this one over the year? I'm excited to see if Rockstar's gonna do the exact same thing when GTA 6 releases. Now, if you've been a fan of my channel for a while now, you'll remember that I've mentioned a plethora of times that I do not own a single Nintendo console, except for one of their best-selling ones, and that was the Nintendo Wii. And if you wanted to be part of the cool kids club at the time, because, you know, the Wii kind of like outsold every single console that came before it, you'll probably own one of these things, and that cool kids club also probably included like actual cool kids from high school making fun of you because you bought a Wii. But in any case, the Wii itself had a lot of good bangers on it, and once again, gave you equal amounts of like value for your, for your purchases. So yeah, as you can see, like it's still going on the same like design philosophy as like the 360, because I don't know, the Wii probably, I can't even think. Listen, I've been filming for almost like 3 hours. I can't come up with a funny thing to say. But you got like these nice sleek boxes, which unfortunately as time went on, if they started getting a little bit dirty, that's a little bit harder to hide. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm sure as hell hope not. But let's talk about what you were to get here. So there we go. One of my favorite games on the Nintendo Wii, actually, and I do not to this day understand why people dislike this game, and that was Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, how you feel about that? How you feel about this game does not matter to me. Your opinion. What your opinion on this game is doesn't really matter, because we're here to talk about the box art. So look at this cool thing, the logo, King Arthur in the background, Sonic looking badass because he needs to appeal to like edgy 13-year-olds. And this, if you didn't want to give Shadow a gun, you need to give Sonic a sword. All that stuff behind this nice Arthurian setting there in the background. Old school PEGI logo, Sega, licensed by Nintendo, the console, this nice sleek box. Look at that, the game's logo here, it's a little bit scratched there, you got the Wii there. Nice art here of Sonic running towards Shadow and Knuckles, screenshots, all that stuff that you needed. And you got a few extra things over here. The company, apparently there's this website called Ask About Games. I absolutely have no idea what this company is supposed to be. Maybe I'll have to look into that. There's Sonic Team. There's the, There's the sticker that shows where I got it from. And the thing I always liked about the Nintendo Wii game, so let's have a look about... Oh, son of a bitch. That's not Sonic. Any case, before I continue to embarrass myself, let's continue talking about the booklet. So there's the box art again. Here on the back, it seems like there's a Play Sega thing. Free online games. Create your escape. And I'm pretty convinced that this picture of Sonic is from The Secret Rings or from 06. So great game to represent on the back of your box. So here we got everything black and white again. Got the story. We got the characters, the moves, the controls illustrated by Sonic doing what he does in the game. Again, basically the simple stuff, except this time now you have it on the Nintendo Wii. And apparently this was done with physics by NVIDIA. I don't know what that means. That's meant to represent. But since this isn't now, a Sonic game, Mario Kart Wii still pretty much like represents everything that I loved about how the Wii's disc looked. like this nice simplistic two-color scheme that they have. The white for the majority of the disc, and like the color basically just how am I gonna say this? Like highlight the other color highlighting the character depending on what color the game was going for. We'll see this with a few of the other games I'm going to show off here. And then it just has like this shiny look to it, and this just looks so fucking cool. I absolutely love it. I don't know what format this thing is. I don't know if this is still DVDs and stuff, but still, absolutely, like, a lot of love went into these discs, and I actually really appreciate the effort that they put into here. And I guess, like, to indicate how much I love Sonic and the Black Knight, I'm assuming this is still the game that's in my Wii. It's either that or Mad World. And this will also come in handy a little bit later if we talk about, like, a few issues with owning physical games, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So here is the Nintendo's Fat Shaming Simulator from 2010, the game that you would get a balance board with. Nice, sleek, simplistic design that shows all the stuff you're going to be doing with the balance board. Some reason there's a dog there. The dog isn't going to do shit. You get like, okay, well this is, I guess like this could be forgiven. Like you get like all the screenshots of the stuff. They show you the peripherals and they'll show you like 50 to 60 hertz because remember, the Wii was still a console that could only really be played via analog, so RCA, you know, the red, yellow, and white cables. So I'm going to take a wild assumption and say, like, just because this was a, like, tech demo-ish kind of game, or, like, a game that is meant to sell a peripheral, then, you know, I think, like, this was, like, it could be forgiven because, like, a lot of the novelty came from you reading up all this stuff that you get in the box, like the booklet that explains everything. And I'll show you now here, like, I guess it could be forgiven in a few ways. Like, there again, that nice, sleek design for the case, very simple, I absolutely love it. And then we get the booklet as for usual. Like, have a look at this. So there we go. In nice simple color, shows you how to use the Wii, shows you the distance you need to be on the balance board, everything you'll need to know to get set up with the balance board and playing Wii Fit in general. Absolutely amazing. But then you get this little sleek thing over here. I'm gonna keep using sleek until it stops making sense, am I? But in any case, this is around the time when the Wii had two colors, white and black, that you can get. And this was apparently, I'm assuming, just like, I guess like a demo reel in a book form of all the kinds of games you could get during the time. So there's Monster Hunter Tri, Wii Sports Resort, the Black Wii that came bundled with it, Wii Fit Plus, the game that you just bought, New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Let's see what else we have here. Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Skies, again that I want to actually play. The most out of place thing here. Naruto Shippuden, Clash of Ninja Revolution 3, which I actually think I do own. Animal Crossing, Let's Go to the City. I'm thinking that's the most forgotten Animal Crossing game. Mario Kart Wii, absolutely fun game. Super Mario Galaxy, goated game, one of the best games that you can get on the system. And then copyright the Wii, the company that's gonna try and like shut you down if you hold fan events for their games. It's the works. Absolutely so much value packed into this. And I feel like it's deserved too, since there's so little stuff on the actual box art to look at. Like, you swear you'd like, how am I gonna explain this? You swear you go, like, have like a monochromatic view of things you'll only be able to see in white and green for the time being. And since it is May, I feel it's only appropriate to bring up Lego Star Wars, the complete saga. Probably the best Lego game for Star Wars, if you're not counting the Skywalker saga, which, truth be told, that's a better game. This is a better Lego game. So there you got this nice box art here with all your Star Wars characters, the logo, Darth Vader, Darth Maul. I've never been too sure who the hell this is that Luke nearly decapitated. Is this supposed to be Uncle Owen? Or is this supposed to be Obi-Wan? I don't know, but there you go. Anakin, Leia. As you can see, not even the Lego, like, you can't even just play a Lego game without giving the incel something to gawk at. It's so funny. And there you go again. Kick some brick in 1 through 6. There you go. Screenshots, all that stuff. Let's see if... and there you go, another one of these indications where I guess like they decided, let's have blue be the like defining thing and let's have the finer details like the logos and the characters be represented in white. Looks really good. I absolutely loved how the Wii's discs used to look. Oh, I thought these were jizz stains. What? No, and they were actually X-Wings. I was about to say, somebody really likes Star Wars. Let's see if this one was colored. No, this is awesome. And I think, like, does it give you, like, plot synopsises? Yeah, it shows you, like, the stages, shows you, like, events, and it actually goes through, like, the Star Wars history by the looks of it. So there's Hoth, there's Tatooine, there's Mustafar, there's Naboo, Tatooine again, Hoth again. I thought this was supposed to represent every single era of Star Wars, but I guess like episode 3, 5, well, what the hell is this? I guess this is just like a dark version of one of the stages. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. And notes! How the hell are you supposed to make notes on a black piece of paper? Like, I know you get like white markers and shit, but I don't think that's very practical. That's great, I like that. But yeah, there you go. It has the status quo. Also, one of my favorite Wii games of all time, I'm not sure how many people will agree with me, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Amazing artwork from Samus, Dark Samus again, the logo, someone's hands, a hand model holding a nunchuck and a Wii, just in case you didn't know what you were going to be playing this with through this little diagram over there. And now it's got the screenshots, everything like that. So let's see what they had over here, because this is 2007. I almost think we're going to look at it now. I want to try and take it out. I'm going to just flip it upside down. Actually, I don't know. Does this look normal? I guess you guys should be able to read it. But look at how cool that artwork looks on the disc. Absolutely amazing and stunning, dude. Like having it be all black contrasted with the blue and the like grays when it highlights Samus. Oh, that looks so good. Let's see what we got in the booklet. Some actual art. Oh my goodness, you want to know the best part about me making this, doing this entire video idea? I never saw this art before. That looks so awesome. And again, everything is in color, everything is illustrated. You know, this is a dark game on the Wii, which I find funny that they have this kind of a colorful kind of booklet. And I think like Metroid Prime 3 is probably my favorite Metroid Prime game. A lot of purists will probably not agree with me, but I don't really care. I love this game. It was awesome. But yeah, goes to show Nintendo wasn't slouching. I think this was the one and only system where we consistently got... There's Nintendo's hotline if you want to give them a call, by the way. Like, you got like Nintendo's hotline. Wait, no. So I think this is consistent, but then again, I don't think the Wii actually had like any particularly like deviations. They had like this consistent thing throughout the entirety of its lifespan. Like there were like those odd occasions where like they had like a red box or a completely black box, but those were so few and far between. So like overall, if you were a Wii collector and you got all these things, you'd have like a nice, consistent, uniform collection. Also, I don't know what the hell, if anyone can tell me what this means. You see like these like checkered flag bookmark kind of looking things? What do these represent? Because why are some of them green? Why are some of them yellow? Why are some of them purple? Anyone would like to tell me in the comments, please do so. But I do believe we have completely finished off the 7th generation of this. And I think it's time that we continue further with not the 7th gen. Back to the other camera. Now moving over to where I start feeling that physical editions of games have started to degrade in quality and the stuff that you get with it. We now move over to one of the first console that graced the 8th generation of video game consoles, and that is the PlayStation 4. So now, as I've mentioned, we are now heading into the final stretch of this video, where we are now officially going to start taking a look at where I believe physical media itself started getting a lot less time and effort put into them. Well, not effortless, but you'll see what I mean. And I only have 3 editions on the PS4 that I want to show you guys. Now, what I find interesting about this, let me just readjust this real quick. Now, what I find very interesting about this is that one of these games is brand new, is secondhand, sorry, and 2 of these games are brand new, bought off the store in their cling wrap or whatever the hell it is. And let me just tell you right off the bat. These 2 games I got on a clearance sale, brand new, sealed, just when the pandemic started to hit and like the store was closing down and owned them. So these 2, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled and Resident Evil 2 Remake, are the 2 newest games that I own. And this one I bought used, but I want to show you guys something, and I don't know how this works, like what the mindset is, if this is just what's been going on, but let's have a look. So basically, let's start off with Horizon Zero Dawn. So basically, here we are, PlayStation 4 exclusive game. we still have that nice simplistic art style. You know, you got Alloy, you got the monsters, you got a mountain, you have the sky, you got the logo. For some reason they decided to plaster all the flippin' all the accolades over because the Telegraph gave this game a 5 stars. IGN UK gave this 9.3 out of 10 because we all know we can trust IGN. I don't know who the hell The Independent is, but they also gave it 5 stars. GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10, and apparently it's not to be sold separately. Not that I have any idea what the hell that is supposed to mean. So there you go, you got the nice art, then you go to here to the back. Nice, sleek. This is still pretty damn good because this is a first-party PlayStation game. An essential for PlayStation owners according to The Independent, and we all listen to The Independent. So there it goes to show like the synopsis, 2 screenshots, which this is 2017. This was around the time when screenshots could just tell you what you were getting yourself into with the game, with the graphics and all that kind of stuff. I nearly threw this off the table. And then with the complete edition, here it shows you all the extra stuff that you're able to get. Now, when we actually sit down and we open the game, we open the box. Nice CD. What the hell is this supposed to be? Now, I'm not sure if this is used, I'm not sure. Remember, I think this is around the time where all the data on a special edition would be included inside the box or the disc itself. If not, they'll probably detect it and download it automatically. But this, to my knowledge, is all that you get. Atari 2600 pamphlet that shows you every single thing that you need to do in the game, which the tutorial is supposed to teach you. So if this was brand new, was this all that you got? Nothing else. Just like, I know I bought this used, but the fact of the matter is, this isn't the only PS4 game that I've seen this with. There are so many other, and I've even seen pictures of the same exact Atari 2600 era kind of thing, bundled. Like, it's the only thing that you get along with the disc. So you still get like the benefits of looking at that nice clean art, except this time with 10,000 accolades from reviewers you do not give a shit about and should not be listening to. And then you still get the back of the stuff and all the normal stuff that you would need to read. But once you're done with that, this is all you're left with. Literally a controller. You know that there was a console called the ColecoVision or Intellivision or something like that, and they had like that overlay for the controller that you had. This is what it feels like. This feels like this should be like a controller overlay for a DualShock 4. Now listen, I love the original Horizon Zero Dawn. This isn't a knock, but this is an issue that I've noticed. And there's no internal reversible cover art, nothing like that. This is all that you get. Now, like I said, I don't know if this complete edition came with something else, if this was just sold on the store shelves as it is. I just saw it, I nabbed it for a good price, and then there you go. But now, we come to something that I view is a little bit less excusable. So, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Absolutely love this game. One of my favorite racing games ever made, and it's a remake to one of my favorite PS1 racing games, as we all know. So, great box art, so much love and attention was put into this itself. So great, so awesome. Look at this. Crash is back in the driver's seat, unfortunately, because I don't think he's road legal. Then you get the PlayStation 1 PS exclusive content if you own the PS4 version, which, truth be told, you should. Wump start your engine. Wump start. I just got that now. Lovely. In any case, 3 screenshots. Crash looking like he's chasing after a boar he can ride. If you play Crash Bandicoot, you know what that means. So here you also check things, the player amount, PlayStation Network. You need 17 gigs minimum on your console in order to install this, because remember, these are big games. DualShock 4 HD going all the way from 720p to 1080p. Remote play with the PS Vita, the Vita also being another console that I do not own. PS4 Pro Enhanced, which means absolutely nothing because this game does not run at 60 FPS no matter how hard you hope for it, unless you mod the, unless you mod the Nintendo Switch version, from what I understand. But then once you open this thing, there you got the disc. Lovely. And then, this is all you get. The digital content Electron skin. I'm not showing you guys this. Actually, I can show you guys this code because it already expired. So look at this. That's all you get in this brand new purchased sealed game. Not touched, clean, 100% bought fine. This is all you're getting. So that's already where it goes to show, because remember, we are in this era where you can get online digital manuals and stuff like that, and honestly, we're living in the age of the internet, so what do you call it? This is just something that's to be expected at this point. I actually just talk about the discs. Like, look at that disc. Looks good. I love this. Like, the disc is still something worth owning. And then, what do you call it? Then we get to our final one. Now, remember, I also got this on clearance sale, sealed, brand new. I don't know what the hell this shit is. Like, what is this? Like, I guess, like, it's giving it character for all we know. But yeah, any case, Resident Evil 2 Remake. I love the box art, even though it's not the most, like, colorful, vibrant, and most indicative thing. It does what it does. It does what it needs to do. There's your title, publisher, main characters, background, nice, simple, and focused. Now, I don't have any issue with this personally, or anything else. Let's see at the back. Yeah, it does everything like that you need. A rookie cop, first day on the job, definitely not the best time. I think it's a good time to resign. Student searching for a missing brother. City on the verge of collapse, which I do not think it's at the verge at that point. I think it has already gone to shit. But any case, there's your screenshots, everything that you need to know about the game, rating, the stuff there, RE Engine, Resident Evil's like social medias, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. All the stuff. This time, the HD PS4 Pro enhanced stuff does matter because you do get a boost in performance. But yeah, but then, no jokes. I bought this brand new, sealed. This is all you get. The disc, which is just a black background, some blood splatters on it, and the normal shit that you expect, and nothing else. Not a booklet, not a pamphlet, nothing. You get like health and safety rules that you get to read, but this is what I'm saying. So like, all we get are slips and pamphlets, essentially. This was brand new sealed. It's kind of like weird because, let's say, the biggest game from 2017 gave us just a controller sheet, so that's not even anything impressive. One of the best games from 2019, in my opinion, because like it's a remake that all of us want. It's one of the most fun things, but it doesn't have the budget. It gave us at least DLC codes that long since expired. I don't know if I even redeemed those. And then one of my favorite games from 2019 doesn't even give you anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a bonus. I should have actually lumped this with, and I'm going to just take these with. So I'm going to quickly pause and I'll be right back. So those games that I just showed you were all from 2019 and 2017 respectively. So we were at that point already like 4 to 5 years in the PlayStation, no, 4 to 6 years, I'm sorry, in the PS4's life cycle. So what I decided to do with my final 2 games that I want to prove something with here, launch title on the PS4, and one of the biggest games from 2016, 3 years. Well, I just showed, but you know what I mean, 3 years after the PS4's launch. So what I want to do first here, now we all know how amazing this is, but a lot of people say like, what do you call it, Doom 2016 has got like pretty weak art, box art, so I mean like, yeah, fair enough, it's simple, but what do you expect? It's what's made to sell copies. Then you got like the fight like hell, all the basic stuff that you come to know and love. But now, look, we even have like a little bit of wrap here. I don't know why that's there. I bought this thing used. But this could also be a case of it being used, so if anyone owns these games, just let me know. I think the disc looks amazing though, let me tell you right now. Like that, like, is sleek, simple, and I just love like the loading icon. I don't know what that icon's supposed to represent, but once again, okay, so a lot of people also say that the reversible cover here, because it like pays homage to the original Doom. Let me show you guys real quick. So there you go. Like, a lot of people say this is much better, and this is actually the default art used for the Nintendo Switch version. Problem is with this, I'm not flipping this because then you don't get the PS4 banner at the top. So then it's just gonna look inconsistent from my, it's gonna look inconsistent in my collection. So, when it comes down to what we got here, we got the Season Pass for Doom, this little slip here, as well as a game that came out in 2016, Dishonored 2. Not my favorite one, but still probably, okay, well, I mean, 10 times better than frickin' Deathloop or Redfall. So, I mean, in hindsight, we can look at this. So now we also got this little slip over here, with another expired redeem thing. So we got the Demon multiplayer pack with all this shit. I don't know what that means. I've not yet touched the multiplayer of Doom 2016 because I do not exactly play Doom for multiplayer. And then here is the booklet. Now, granted, son of a bitch. Warranty information, tech support. A nice, what even is this one? This isn't the Cyber Demon. I can't remember what this thing was called, but yeah, that looks cool. But there you go, still the same case. It's the same thing like the Horizon box, but this time you get to open to see the controls. Wow, what is this? This game disc contains software for the PlayStation 4 system. No shit. But yeah, so one of the best games from 2016 and one of my personal favorite games that I absolutely adore doesn't even have all of that. Doesn't even have that much, you know, in its box, in its physical edition. It's just still the same pamphlet shit. And another advertisement, which I guess is cool. You can see, oh, Dishonored 2 is coming out. Yippee! Any case, now let's move to a launch title. Now, this is far from my favorite Killzone game, by the way. I absolutely attest this game. Yes, it looks great, but I still think that Killzone 2 and 3 are much better games than this. It's better than the first one, though, but that's not really saying much if you're slightly better than a PS2 game. Any case, there is a receipt in here that I would like to remove real quick. So, as you can see, there's your box. There's your disc. I would say, though, that this is much better than the Horizon Zero Dawn one, which I find incredibly funny because both these were made by Guerrilla Games. But look at this. That's how you play the video game, guys. There's the PS Gold, PS Plus thing. Wow, looks fancy, right? Here's your season pass. And at the back of this, Killzone Mercenaries. Nothing to read, and now you're also getting an advertisement for the better handheld version of your franchise. So as you can see, even as a launch title, they couldn't give half of a shit to give you nearly as much value as, well, this is a bad example, as literally a box art from 1998. Let's see what's on the back. Okay, that still checks off the right notes. Okay, let's see this. 3 screenshots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 screenshots here. Granted, one of them is from the transforming sequence. If you transform into the hovercraft, still, those are PNGs or JPEGs that got printed onto this. That is 7 more than what's over here. More shit to read. Yep, no, that does well. A more unique style for its, like, yeah, this is just bog standard. Like, I feel like they want to simplify it. I don't have any issue with this, but there's just so much more personality packed into this. But this just goes to show. This is like where, what do you call it? This is where, like, physical media was starting to become less of a priority to purchase. Because again, at this point, digital games and buying games on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live has already become like the staple. And you know, that's just a shame. So even on a launch title, this is all that you would get. I don't know if there's any collector's editions or special editions that gave you more, but if you just wanted the box standard copy of this, that's all you're getting. And I think that's pretty sad. But let's go back to the other camera so we can bring up another culprit in this. Now, I just also want to give an honorable mention. Since I do own an Xbox One, but that's basically a glorified 360 at this point for me, since my 360 long broke, and the latest console that I do own by Xbox is the Series S, which, as you know, you can't really put discs into, I reached out to one of my best buddies, The Beak, to show you what you could get if you decided to cough up some of your hard-earned cash to buy yourself a physical edition of an Xbox One game.
Here we have my copy of Fallout 4. Now, problem is, I'm holding my mic with my left hand. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Oh, hang on. Okay, wait. Let me see if I can... Okay, what's in here? Okay, we have the warranty information. And the next thing we have is... Oh, it's the Vault Dwellers Survival Guide. The condensed edition. Boston Ma. Okay, so the game controls are... Okay, cool. RT is attack. Oh my god. The pause button is pause. Holy shit. I don't know what the bottom says. I think that says, don't forget, we're here to help you survive and thrive. To access the in-game help menu, press the pause button. Oh my god, then select Next up, we got my copy of Red Dead Redemption 2. Let me just go ahead and let me see if I can do this one-handed. Oh, look at that. Oh my god, I'm amazing at opening games. Okay, so hang on, what is this? Red Dead Redemption 2, The Warhorse and the Outlaw Survival Kit. And then, if I remember correctly, I think there's a map behind here. Let me have a look. Map. Yes, there is a map. Okay, yeah, this is... Oh, I love this when games give this to you. Okay, so it's a... I don't know how I'm going to open this. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it in shot. Yeah, it's just a map. I'm probably going to put this up on my wall. Look at that. I love when games do this. It's like really cool, like posters and merch and stuff that you get. It's really interesting. Do more of this, video games. I also have Far Cry Primal, which is basically just Far Cry 4, but with an extra coat of paint and Neanderthals in it. There's an ice dweller in the chat. Inside, we have the Far Cry Primal Legend of the Mammoth, the Legend of the Mammoth booklet, and behind it is the that's a mammoth. Okay, there's a mammoth over here. Go away. And then I have this. Looks like a fucking what? This looks like a For Honor logo. What is this? Hang on. Let me. Oh, never mind. It's Far Cry Primal again. Is this like lore, or is this just like, oh no, it's warranty shit? Okay. Look, there's a cave painting. Look at those funny Neanderthals. What are they doing to that animal? Is that a mammoth?
Now, I do have one final addition to add to the 8th generation of consoles, and this is from a console that I do not own, but I once again reached out to another one of my good buddies, the Suited Bird, to give you a little bit of an insight as to what Nintendo Switch is to offer you if you decided to want to buy one of those things physically. So take it away.
Moving on to Switch games, we got a sports game which has nothing. Next, we got Forager, which is an awesome indie game that I highly recommend. And when opening up the case, we are met with some cool stickers and actually a pretty nice size poster, which I did not expect at all. And I think is a pretty awesome touch to an already really good game. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands has nothing in it, but it does have a really nice inside case art, which is a nice little touch to it. The new Lego Star Wars game, when opening it, we got some advertisements for some Lego Star Wars sets, which is the perfect advertisement, if I'm being honest. Then going through the rest of these games, there actually isn't anything in it. They're just super boring.
Now, also, since I've mentioned, the most recent console that I own is the Xbox Series S, which, as you know, cannot take physical games. I want to see how PlayStation's endeavor into the 9th generation of consoles handled itself when you decided to buy a physical release from one of them. So back to the Suited Bird again. Here he is back to present to you again what you could get if you decided to buy anything physically from the PlayStation 5, and a few honorable mentions from his side.
So on the PS5, we have only 2 games. So first we have NHL 23 from EA, and when I open it up, we actually get some things, which is some advertisements for their ePlay thing or whatever EA is trying to sell me. And then there's actually some nice little visuals on the different control types for the game, which I think is actually a pretty nice touch that they didn't need to do. And there's a nice little look to it. We also have the European version of Horizon Forbidden West, which when we open it, we get absolutely nothing. Riveting.
Now, before I decide to end this video off, I do have a few more honorable games that I do want to bring up to people's attention. And it just goes back to, like, the entire feeling of going out to one of these game stores and just buying these physical editions of stuff, because sometimes you might actually end up with some gold. So I present to you some of the special editions I was actually able to pick up for pretty fucking cheap. So, Infamous, I'm sure. Like, okay, let me tell you what these are. Special and collectors. Not collectors, but limited editions. So here's my special edition of Infamous. This should probably bring back a lot of memories if you owned the PS3 back in the day. Infamous, still to this day, I would still argue, if it's treated in a vacuum in its time, before Spider-Man PS4 came out, this was still the best superhero game. I still think it holds that for originality. And this special edition I got for really cheap. I think I traded in my original Platinum one and they just decided, like, this is fine. So they gave you this. What was this? I think this is a comic book. So you got... No, this isn't a comic book. Look here. They do have the comic book, like, that I think shows, like, the events of the games leading up. But look how cool this is. Look at that. I don't know if this is a comic book or the manual, but look at this. This looks awesome, hey? Like, look here, that pamphlet, you get this nice, amazing illustration, and the comic book art style in Infamous is amazing. This, I believe, is just concept art, so a little booklet to show concept art of the characters. Cole, I don't remember what the city's name was. I still think Infamous 2 is the better game out of them. And just look at this. Let's see what this one is. And I also like how it's like indicative of like the two sides that you can get, hero or villain. Okay, this is the booklet. But yeah, look at this. I do not know if this version works. Like, I finished it with my old version and I just literally wanted the special edition because it looked so damn cool and I wanted the special edition in my collection. And then I got this. It's just so insane. And then you still get everything. And yeah, just the Infamous Special Edition. Get this cool sleeve and it's awesome. Don't even think I need to go out of my way to describe like having something like this and how rare it must be to own something like this. Now, something that's less impressive are steelbooks. Steelbooks nowadays I still think are a dime a dozen, but this is just one of the few that I own. I own one for Beyond Two Souls on the PlayStation 3 as well. Now, this is mine for the original BioShock. Steelbooks are nice, I like them. One thing that I just kind of like I'm worried about now is, so just because this is rustic, I don't know if this is actually how the steelbook is supposed to look, or if the thing aged so much this is actually rust, and if I cut myself I need a tetanus shot. But yeah, steelbooks, they aren't really all that much interesting to talk about. They're just steelbook variations of the actual physical cover, and they just look cool. And I guess you can use them as a lethal weapon if you want to. And now we're coming to the big boys of this, but before that, here's another example. Like, I want to group these other two into this. This is another one of my steelbooks. This is the Dark Souls 2 Black Armored Edition, which again, this is just, I got this for super cheap, dude. There's your DLC code add-on stuff. I don't know what this is supposed to be. There's that Bandai registration thing where you get some cool Dark Souls goodies. Here's the booklet that you can read at your leisure. And there's the soundtrack along with the game. Dude, this is just insane. Like, words cannot describe how much I love going out of my way to try and find stuff like this. And I'm so happy that I'm able to actually own these kinds of stuff for myself. I don't want to even touch these things. You guys get the idea. There's the booklet, there's everything. Now it's all just sleekly done in this nice steelbook with the sleeve, with a slip over cover that shows you what game it is, what edition you got. You even got that soundtrack. It's so fucking kick-ass, dude. Like, words can't describe how happy I am with this. Another one of these cases, here are my limited editions of Dark Souls 1 and Final Fantasy X and X-2. So since we were talking about Dark Souls 2, let's go with Dark Souls 1 here. So once again, I got this for criminally cheap. So like, here you go, there's your normal like edition of Dark Souls 1 booklet, everything that you need to know. Dark Souls 1, amazing game, still considerably one of the best versions of a game. Here is the art book that includes, I believe this is the soundtrack, and I think this is the behind the scenes DVD, which I am not touching. I am not touching. So here you just have like, accidentally spit on it, fuck. But look at this, oh, Sif, oh. Just look at this. I'm not trying to brag. Like, this is just one of the reasons why I'm so happy that I was able to go out, get this limited edition for the price that I did. And you can bet your ass if I'm finding another one, I am buying that again. I don't know if this book is enough for me to get demonetized. I do not care. This is history, and I'm so glad it's part of my collection. And this is still why I would imply like people going out, or implore, or whatever the right word is, and just go out and buy these things. Look for these things. There's nothing that like beats that feeling of going into a thrift store and finding something that has so much value for such a cheap price. This is like about $5 US if you want like an example. Same case with this. Same exact price, same exact store, same exact value. Now, I don't believe this edition came with a sound, maybe it came with a soundtrack, but I know for a fact it came with a book. But here you go. Let's see. No, it didn't come with anything, but still. I don't know if this was still Tetsuya Nomura doing the art, but look at how cool this is. I'm just super grateful that this is something that's in my collection. I don't even want to touch this, because this is just like history, and I'm just glad that it's part of like my collection. And this is why, again, I would recommend you go out and get that value for just taking some time and looking for these physical things. And again, even, I should also mention, since these are physical discs, now this doesn't always apply for everything, I believe, but you physically have these discs. You can pop them in to, if you have the original hardware, and play them whenever you want. Do you understand like how many times I went back and played my PS3 just for the like just for the, just when I had no internet, like we were having internet issues and shit like that, I could just pop in my PlayStation 3 or my 360 and just have a good time playing these games. And I didn't even need internet. I just had to pop in the disc. There you go, full game there. No even need for updates. Dude, like, this is why I'm telling you, this is why I'm very happy with going out of my way and owning, like, physical editions. And this is why I'm saying, there's so much value in owning all of these things. And I just feel like nowadays you don't even get the benefits of having this. Now, I could be wrong, though. Some games might still do this. But again, for the price that I got this with, and like, I think when you want to try and get like special editions of games nowadays, you have to pay a massive premium for that. And I'm just grateful that this is just something that I got on the cheap. So yeah. Moving on from special editions though, I do feel like there were a few games as well released that I classify as really interesting. And these could be for a plethora of reasons, and I will explain so to you now in this section, which I just decided to call interesting games. So when it comes to interesting games, there isn't really anything all that like different when it comes to box arts, but I want to say like where it stands as like something that you would actually get value from when you buy something physical. So the first game we have over here, let me just push these to the side. We're almost done with this video, dude. Fuck, I've been filming this thing for almost like 4 hours, so thank you all so much for sticking by and watching up until now. So this is another one of those Tales of games. Like, you can remember we did one with Tales of Eternia on the PSP. So this is Tales of Graces F. Now, the reason that this is interesting, like, there you got all your basics. I'm not going to go over all this again, because if you want to go back to the respective, like, sections I did with the PS3. So you got your booklet, you got your stuff. But the reason why this is interesting is that this was originally a Japanese exclusive Nintendo Wii game. And when they decided to bring it over, I think it was Japanese exclusive anyway. But when they decided to bring it over to the West and to a much more broader audience, they ported it over to the PlayStation 3 and made it available for that system. And this game is actually really fucking solid. I love the Tales of games, and this was just something that was so interesting for me. Like, I can imagine you get the same feeling when you walked into the store to buy brand new as I did when I went out to a thrift store to just buy this. It's just so insane, and it's just like such a good thing to have in the collection, because like, who knows how rare these things might get out, like, at the end of the day. Moving on from that, this is another interesting case. So this is another PS3 game that I think also got released on the 360 as well. It's called Knight's Contract. Now, this is a basic hack and slash God of War-ish kind of clone, but the reason it's kind of interesting is, as you can see, this thing has a sleeve, like this nice little cardboard sleeve here, that also like reveals a much nicer, in my opinion, cover art. But this is nice and simple and basic. But it makes me wonder, because like, look, this is like this outer shell that you need to pop off. Look at this. They even needed to double check to have the same prices on both, for in case someone tries to screw them over. But why would they make a special cardboard sleeve? Why would they want to make a special cardboard sleeve for this one specific game? Like, it's just very interesting to me, because it also makes it look very cool on the shelf, because like, you get like, I would almost argue like this is extra protection. I'd almost argue that this is like insurance almost, so that it like can keep the real goods safe inside. And I guess that's also why they didn't put so much effort on the external shell. But this was also very interesting for me to see, and I'm very glad that I was able to get it with the actual with the box, like with the sleeve outside of it. It's really interesting. Now, this is a game, once again, that I think is, if you own a PS3, because sadly it is only stuck to the PS3, and that is the original Metal Gear Solid 4. Now, this is once again the Platinum version, but the reason why this is interesting is this just goes to show how much love, care, and effort was put into this edition specifically, because you get everything, you get your description, screenshots, everything like that. Unfortunately, you don't get the benefits of seeing the full thing if you get the Platinum Edition, but still, you get all the awards. The much better, mind you, much better cover art drawn by Yoji Shinkawa himself, not that American depressed version of Snake. We all know which one I'm talking about. So there you get that. But as you can see, look at this. This is why you have to commend Konami and Kojima specifically for putting so much time and effort to give you actual value. And I'm sure if you got this game day one and you got driven out to like the store to buy it and you're back on your way home, this was something interesting, because you get everything I've just mentioned you can get with Yeah, you get everything. I've mentioned you can get like the explanations of how the game works, the buttons, what they all do, but they went out of their way to make comic book panels. So you actually read like a comic book while you're busy like reading up on all the controls, like the models, like all this stuff. Like, look how cool this is. Like, this is something. I don't even want to open this thing fully. Just look, you can see like they made like little comic book panels to like show off every single aspect of the game. And even this, an actual comic book to read for Metal Gear Online. That was the multiplayer mode, and I think that this comic was just so you can get into the events of what happens there. And look, even this little Otacon PC version from Metal Gear Solid 2. This was cool. Like, you cannot deny how much love and attention went into this. And that's really awesome. Look, Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of my favorite games ever made, and it's my favorite Metal Gear game. But if you decided to go out of your way and buy this thing physically, there was no doubt you got what you paid for, even before you even popped in the game to start playing it. Now, this is another interesting one. This is also one of my favorite Souls. This is actually my favorite Souls-like. It's the original Demon's Souls released back in 2009. The only reason why I'm saying that this is actually very interesting is because this game is apparently very rare. I don't know why that's the case. There's not really much to say here. It's got everything that you want. Unfortunately, black and white again. Thank you so much, FromSoft. You get all that. I unfortunately still stuck on the PS3, but still, I never knew this. Like, I just saw this at a thrift store one day for really cheap. I bought the thing, and then when I was looking up for like the most rare games, Demon's Souls for the PS3 was on there. So I guess I just got lucky, and that goes to show like the value in going out and looking for the stuff, because look, now I just literally yoinked myself in a rare piece of history, and I absolutely love this game. Now, another reason why, like, around this time, I would say it was interesting because you would always get like these value packs, I would say. Like, I think the most common one on the 360 that I can think of was Gears of War and Halo, or was it Mass Effect? I don't remember. But this one's very special because like this bundles 3 of Ubisoft's, like, I think it's digital only games, and they're all placed in one disc. And even then, like, okay, this could be excusable to an extent because you're already getting 3 games in one. And there you got like the ratings, the screenshots of the games, each individual thing for the games, and like all they do is like show the overall thing. Like, there's gambling, yay, I love gambling, the age rating, all that stuff. And let's see here real quick. Yeah, there's even more, like, because it's a value pack, then you get 3 games. They obviously have to split this over between the 3 so it all fits there. So there's like the Beyond Good and Evil stuff. All these games are really good though. I would recommend. I think they are on the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. I didn't even really look, but it's very interesting because this is a collection where you get all 3 of these excellent games on one disc. And I really absolutely love that. I love it when they release these weird things, like these weird kinds of games. There's one where they have like Sega Dreamcast games on one Xbox disc. Then I think you had Crazy Taxi, Sonic Adventure 1, and Space Channel 5 all on one disc, and I absolutely want those things. I absolutely really want those. This is another interesting case because this is the original Dead Island. I absolutely love the original Dead Island. If you guys have been following me on Twitter and just saw my community tabs, you know I absolutely really love Dead Island 2 as well. I'm planning on replaying that game again at some point after I get like a few more games out of my backlog. But the reason why this game the reason why this game is interesting is we don't exactly know why it has a Game of the Year edition when I don't even think it got nominated for one. If it had like best trailer, then definitely yeah, because the trailer is iconic. So you got like your little sleeve that, wait, let's see this. The fight for survival continues. Zombie-infected tropical shores awaits you on the island of Panoi. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that spelled out. I don't know. Oh wait, that's for Riptide. Sorry, hang on. Okay, but in that case, here's the booklet. Everything that you want on here. Unfortunately, it's still black and white. Still more effort than what we saw with the PS4 variants. But yeah, if you bought this, you got the DLC with it. And yeah, I recommend Dead Island 1 if you can get it. It's awesome. And apparently there's also what I don't get. This is a classic disc of the Game of the Year edition. I don't know why. Oh, it is the classic edition, sorry. I thought like they put a classic disc in a normal one. Now, this is something that I'm sure a lot of people might get uber nostalgic for if you played the 360 back in the day and you played Minecraft. But the reason why this is interesting I bought this used, or I got this from someone, I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know if this did come with a manual or anything like that, even as you can, it wouldn't surprise me at this point because look how bare bones all this is. But the reason why this is quite interesting for me is like, this is the original Minecraft released on the Xbox 360. And why it's special to me is if I was to pop this thing into my 360, I would still be able to play the official 1.0 version of Minecraft released all the way back to whenever they decided to port this. I think this was it 2012 or 2013? When did they port this over? They usually show... That doesn't really matter all that much at this point, so, but case in point, like, this is just a relic of history, much like the Angry Birds thing. It also goes to show, like, how many of these games got ported over that were so popular once upon a time to, like, one of the, like, most successful consoles at the time. And I don't know if, like, I'm missing a few things because I got this thing used, but still, just the fact that I can pop this thing in and play the default 1.0 Xbox 360 version of Minecraft is more than enough of a novelty for me to own this version. Now, another one of these cases, and that I find very interesting, and what do you call it? It's very weird that they would do this with this kind of game. I guess it's because it gives it more personality. Here's a nice game called The Bureau XCOM Declassified, which is I don't know if it's a prequel, I don't know if it's a spin-off. It's almost like a Mass Effect version of the tactical aspects of, like, how do I explain it? Like, we know that XCOM is a tactical game. I'm in the middle of trying to actually play some XCOM once I'm done with this. But you got this nice sleeve because it's supposed to show, like, the Bureau and they're trying to hide things. And it's just such a cool little kit that they have here, because it gives this game such a unique, like, thing on the shelf. Like, it hides everything, and it already looks appealing just before you even open up the box and just see, like, the amount of effort that was put into it again. This game is still awesome. I remember getting this thing and playing it and finishing it in the first week, and look how excellent this just looks. A file copy that looks like undercover Bureau, like, classified stuff. Here's apparently, let's see if this DLC code also expired. So this is Codebreaker's mission, so you even got, like, this extra game add-on. I don't know if this code expired, but this is, like, this is awesome. I actually really appreciate this kind of thing. So even, like, just with that sleeve alone, I just find that very interesting because it gives the game itself, like, even if it's not the best kind of game, or it's the best game, it's kind of like Knight's Contract. It already gives it a much more larger, it gives it more personality. You know, and you'll definitely remember this because of that, and it just looks really cool when you want to show it to your friends and stuff. Now, another reason why I find this rather interesting is because I did show off Assassin's Creed Black Flag earlier, but this is something that I didn't even know existed, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I completely forgot that I owned this thing before looking through my shelf in preparation for this video. So this is Assassin's Creed Birth of a New World, the American Saga. So this is essentially the collection that includes Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and Assassin's Creed Liberation. I think Liberation is under a, what do you call it? I think Assassin's Creed Liberation is under a DLC code. I'm not sure. I have not touched this thing ever since I got this thing. I just wanted it for Assassin's Creed 3 because that was the one I was missing at the time. But remember how I told you to put a pin in, like, those little, like, buttons that you needed to press to eject a disc, and why some of them can be problematic? This is why. So now, like, look at all this. Look at all this. So I own 2 editions of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Now we have 2 copies of Assassin's Creed 3, and I have no idea what these 2 discs do. But now they pressed them so onto each other that they could end up scratching the fuck out of them, and I actually really don't like this. I'm not gonna move them, but you see how nice these look. And let's see the box. Let's see the book. Okay, there's not really that much in here except, like, a Uplay reward thing. They show you the naval controls. They show you, like, the controls for both these games. But I think the reason why this is excusable is because you're already getting so many freaking games. And I think it would be, like, pointless to print out too much, even since, like, both Assassin's Creed 3 and 4 kind of, like, control similar. But this is a very interesting thing because, like, you get so much bang for your buck, and I didn't even know that this thing existed. Long before the Ezio Collection got released on the Xbox One and PS4, you had this. And I just think it's very novel, and I absolutely love that I have this edition. So yeah, I will try to figure out how to play Assassin's Creed Liberation, because that's probably the only one I haven't played yet. But this is also around the time when Assassin's Creed was still a fantastic series that wasn't milked to death. So yeah, there you go. This is something worth keeping an eye out for if you're a collector. This I just popped in here because if you're a PlayStation 3 fan, there's really nothing much to say. This was also a launch title, I believe. This is Genji Days of the Blade. If you guys remember through, I think it was through E3, the entire giant enemy crab attack its weak point for massive damage. This was the game. This was that game. And it has pretty much all the basics that, you know, the game itself is far from the best thing on the planet. But I just wanted that for the novelty of having the meme game that the PlayStation 3 got synonymously, like, grouped into. Here is another one of those cases, like, what do you call it? Tales of, what was it called? Shit, what was it called again? Tales of Grace's F, yes, okay. So, Star Ocean: The Last Hope, another good game. I really like these JRPGs. Everybody should also probably know at this point what Star Ocean is. It's also kind of like, who made this again? If I can remember who the devs were. That doesn't matter right now. They made something that you know. But this game, Star Ocean: The Last Hope International, was originally the Japanese exclusive PlayStation 3 version that released all the way over in Japan, obviously. Whereas the normal version of this game was only released on the Xbox 360 in the West. And there's that example of like the PEGI logo that had like numbers in it, like words in the background. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but that's what I was talking about, like PEGI going through 3 different things. So this is also just another interesting thing, and I also think it's very rare. Well, let's see, this is also another huge chunky fuck. Like, look at this art. Look how cool this art looks. Like actual anime. Oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, God, everything is in, everything is in color. It shows you everything that you would need to know. It has all the hallmarks of a good booklet that you can get. So yeah, this was also something that I needed to grab. Sorry if you guys can hear the dogs barking. I can't really do much about that. Any case, also, this one here, Siren Blood Clot. Siren Blood Clot. That's not what I wanted to say, but that's how it sounded like. So this game here, the reason why this is interesting is there's only 2 games to my knowledge that was like this. Now, this version that you see right here is the only physical edition that you could get because it was released exclusively in PAL territories. Because apparently this is, like, the reasoning behind this is that our internet was so shit at the time, we couldn't really download games off of PSN effectively. So to combat that, they made these physical editions of these games, because initially you were only able to download this. The only other one I can think about was Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty, which is the in-between game. Let's see, what was it? It was in between A Crack in Time and Tools of Destruction. 2 amazing games too, I might add. And it's just interesting to have this little piece of like kit here, because it also shows like where the PlayStation 3 was at the time and the things certain devs needed to do. And I really like this game. It's far from the best. I'd still say that I think Silent Hill 2 is still probably the better game, but still, this is something that you shouldn't sleep on. I don't know if the PS3 store is closed by now, if you could still even buy this. So for all we know, this this physical edition might be the only way how you're able to still play this game. And, you know, it's just a cool novelty to have, you know. This other one I also just grouped in here. I don't think this is really that impressive, because so this is Unreal Tournament 3, the PlayStation 3 edition. The reason why I have this here is because, as we all know, Epic Games does not give a flying fuck to try and support the Unreal Tournament name, which I find ironic because it's the namesake of its damn engine. And, you know, like, Unreal Engine 3, what was I trying to say? Well, this is what the engine was that it was made for. But, like, Unreal Tournament 3 was also supposed to be, to my knowledge, re-released as a free-to-play game called Unreal Tournament Black, I think. But you see, it has everything here. It's a pretty damn fun game if you want to give it a go. But unfortunately, I think that these physical editions, I don't know if it was released. I think it was released. It should be released on the 360. But these physical editions are probably the only legit way how you're able to still play this game. And I didn't even know, like, Unreal Tournament wasn't, like, supported by Epic Games by the time I bought this. So when I heard, like, they stopped, that was just kind of like a heartbreaking thing, because, like, Unreal Tournament's kind of like synonymous with Quake 3 for popularizing arena shooters. And this is probably one of the last instances that this, I don't know how to explain it. Like, this was one of the last mainline entries to be released in that series. And, like, it was published by Midway. Wait, was it? Was it published by Midway? Wow, that's insane. Like, this also is another, as I've said before, a great time capsule to show, like, this was a time before Epic Games were like the humongous, like, mega giant with Fortnite as we know it for today. It was just nice to see like these more humbler types of beginnings. But yeah, these are like some of the interesting games that I just wanted to show off, and all of these things hold so much value outside of just the reasons for having the physical, reading all this stuff, having this booklet, something nice to look at on the way home. In hindsight, collecting these things now later down the line, it's like it's perfectly preserving where gaming was at the time during the 7th generation, or like, you know, the 5th or the 6th, or everything that I showed right now. And it's just, I don't know, it just has a certain value in just having these things. Like, again, like this, where you couldn't even really get it physically if you lived in the States and stuff like that. It's just such an interesting, like, representation of what was, like, fresh and new at the time when these consoles were just making the rounds. But in any case, another thing that I want to bring up, so these also, I guess, like, get to be a part of like the interesting games thing. But like I said, I forgot like completely if I recorded separate sections. This was the thing I missed the most during the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 era. And I'd always argue like this was not just mine, but a lot of people's first exposure to playing some classic PlayStation 2 games you really couldn't really easily have access to around that time. So these were the HD collections. So as you can see right here, this was one of the first. This isn't one of the first ones, but this is one of the more interesting ones. So before Metal Gear and all that stuff, like, okay, this was entirely based off of Metal Gear Solid's like template. Hideo Kojima was also very well known for creating Zone of the Enders, and this was the HD collection that they released around the time. And look at this beautiful art just made by Yoji Shinkawa, dude. Like, oh, you just can't beat this. Like, this game did get a little bit of a resurgence because they did re-release the second game on the PS4 and on Steam. But dude, like, this is also just amazing because, like, these games are great. I absolutely love this. And even around the time, you even got like a bonus by having Metal Gear Rising's demo baked into the disc if you bought the PS3 version, I'm assuming. I don't know about the 360 version. But these games are great. And it's great to be able to play them at like a higher resolution, because I even think back here, these are one of the, like when I mentioned the resolution things that they displayed at the back of the PS3, here, like I think these were one of the rare instances that this thing actually went up to 1080p, not just being locked to 720p. And these were obviously the most definitive ways that you were able to play these games at the time. I absolutely love these games. I would recommend, even if you want to get the second one on Steam or on PS4 or whatever it's released on, I would 100% recommend. This one was another interesting situation because when I went to a game store just looking for something, I didn't know about this game. I knew about Tales of Symphonia at the time because of YouTubers I watched, but I didn't know that there was a collection of this. So this also is a standoutish thing, and I don't know how many people even know that this thing exists. It contains the GameCube original, somehow running worse than it did on the GameCube, and the, at the time, exclusive Nintendo Wii one, which I did not like. But still, the fact of the matter that this was something that they made. Here's even a little card that showed you, like, you register your game, enter your code, earn 1,000 points. I do not think that these things exist, but even, like, look at the stuff you could get. Pac-Man Alarm, that thing from Ni no Kuni, a Dragon Ball Z backpack or shoulder sling-on, whatever the hell you call those things, and I think this was Tekken Tag Tournament 2 fight stick. This was really interesting. I wish I actually got involved in doing some of these things. And then you obviously have the, I'm not going to go too in-depth with the covers, or not the covers, the, what do you call it, the booklets, because they pretty much serve the status quo. Same with this. Here's another collection right here. Like, if you, I don't even know how to explain this right now. So this is the reason why I probably would rarely go back to playing the originals. Because like I have this collection, so they're all upscaled, and that's what I absolutely love, because it also brought out the beauty of like these like mobile, I want to keep saying mobile, but these handheld versions of these big games, and showed how well they could work if they were ported over to console. Let's see what they actually had in here. So the booklet, obvious. Let's see what was at the back of this. Oh, another version of another one that I actually own. They cross-promoted with Ico and Shadow of the Colossus collection. Another one that I do own. Oh, here it is! Here it is! I didn't bring it in. But yeah, like they cross-promoted, and this was something that PlayStation was absolutely like killing it. I'd argue PlayStation had it better because they had 2 editions like of these kinds of classics HD stuff that the 360 didn't even have at the time. I just want to look at something. Oh yeah, it is still here. And they all had this remember there was also the edition that had God of War 1 and 2, so you had so much bang for your buck. If you just bought this, you get 2 amazing games. This one here, I was like, dude, you know, like when you get that collector's sense when you look at a game and you say to yourself, you need to buy this thing now, because if I do not buy it now, I will never see it again. This was this game. And lo and behold, I was right. This Siberia collection, these are like point-and-click games. I've only played them to dabble into them a little bit. I'll probably get to them eventually at some point when I'm just really in the mood to play some more PS3 games. But like, this game, I did not know it existed. You get Siberia 1 and 2 all on disc, all these nice things, very nice physical edition, all the stuff that you get, like the booklet, all that shit. But then you sit to realize, and then when I was looking into games on like the rarest ones, and like I went to like one of those game value websites, this is my most rare game I own. I think it was also released on the 360, I'm not sure. You can still buy these games separately online, but the physical edition, to my knowledge, this game is the most rare. I think that this version alone, as it goes now, feel free to correct me, I could be wrong. This was just me after I checked it on one of those like value websites. I think this game is worth $200. This game alone. That's why when I saw this thing, I knew I had to buy it, and lo and behold, it's been like, I think 6 years since I bought this thing initially. I still have not seen it around again. And for the price I snatched this was just insane. And now we're going back to Shadow of the Colossus and Ico. This is another one of these great collections, 2 of PlayStation 2's most critically acclaimed games. Ico, I for shit could not understand. Let's actually see what they were cross-promoting in their booklet. I think that this page is a bit fucked. Oh no, there's... I don't know what this is supposed to be. I guess these were season passes or like special themes you could get. Not 100% sure, but yeah, it's the same thing. Get 2 amazing games for a small bundle. And look, even the reversible cover even just has like both of the games' box art on full display with nothing else. And this is just like I'm saying, like I got these games for real cheap and I get to experience history. Now we're going to another one. Like remember, the 360 wasn't, wasn't without this as well, but I'd argue in some cases the 360 got the short end of the stick, because remember, Blu-rays seem to have a much larger storage capacity, and we're going to see that now in a very interesting collection. I'm just going to quickly have them... There we go. If you see this, you're already probably pissing yourself with excitement. But yeah, the reason why I'm saying, like, this is pretty much almost in the same level as Zone of the Enders HD Collection, except you get 3 games. You get Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've played the new Legacy Collection of Metal Gear Solid. I do not like that. Play this instead. You can still get these games on the store, so just play these versions instead. Like Konami's ripping you off with the other ones. The only benefit that one has is you get to play the original Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. But yeah, so you got everything here, and I think this is another one of those... Oh yes, exactly, look at this. But the problem... Okay, so here's the problem with this one. So you get Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 on one disc, and unfortunately you only get Peace Walker on another disc, whereas the PlayStation 3 version, all 3 games are on one single disc. So if I ever see this game floating around the wild again, I'm definitely going to be picking that version up again. Just more convenient. And yeah, here we have the simplistic box art, but like with Metal Gear Solid 4, all these illustrations from Yoji Shinkawa for all these games. Like look there, like the main characters of all 3. You get Raiden, you get Big Boss, then you get Naked Snake from like all 3 of the games. All these comic books. I don't even think they have anything to do with the main game. There was just so much value packed into all these things, dude. Like you could just read these for hours and hours and hours, and you kind of lose this novelty if you decide to buy that edition on the PS4. Because they do have this, but it's all digital. You do not get the benefits of having that thing physically in your arms. Like in your hands, sorry. But yeah, dude, like, it's just such a lost art form, and like everything's trying to go more digital, and it's just not the same thing than holding that booklet in your arm, reading through those comics and seeing everything in like it's like proper printed detail. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I hope I like am in some sense. I really hope that music isn't like, I hope my music's drowning this out. if you were a humongous Valve fan at the time, I will have to say that this is something that around the time, like I think this was 2007 when this came out, this was the go-to. This was the go-to collection that you needed to get. And this is also why I find it funny, because all of these games are on one disc. Unfortunately, I don't have the full collection. There's no booklet, so I don't know what I would have gotten, but still the novelty of owning the best, at the time, the best value for money for games. Was that not promoted somewhere? There we go, the best deal in video game history. I also don't know why this is in an EA box. I don't know if you can see the EA logo like etched in there. I think you should be able to see that. I guess, well, I bought this thing used, but still. Half-Life 2 episode 2, episode 1 and 2, phenomenal games. Portal, phenomenal. The only bad thing about this is I think that this is a very outdated version. Oh, this is definitely not a version of Team Fortress 2 I think you could still play. Maybe you could, but where that's a benefit to me is because this game, if I pop this in my 360, which if I ever fix the disc tray, this would still be the original 1.0 release of Team Fortress 2 as it came out on the Xbox 360. And like you can still go around the maps, you can still select the characters, you can still fire the guns, and you can hear like the developer commentary, and I think that has enough value in and of itself. But for like, if you're shit out of luck with multiplayer, you at the very least still have two of the best single player games ever made. So there you go. Definitely would still recommend you pick this up. Apparently the PS3 version sucks. I don't care, just play fucking these games, they're awesome. Now another one of these interesting cases for a collection is, look at this. GTA Episodes from Liberty City. 2 complete games, The Lost and the Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony. I don't know what people's opinions on these are. I haven't really finished them myself. There's that other like example of the old Peggy logo with the text behind, just to get that out of the way. I just want to check something real quick. Okay, so yeah, there's your disc, and what I find interesting is like all 2 of these episodes, this is GTA 4, 2 different games. I mean, I guess the reason they could fit everything onto one disc is it's going off of one map with just different cutscenes and shit like that. But still, these, to my knowledge, are critically acclaimed, and don't let this fool you. This should be, what do you call it? This was probably a print release version because it was only on the 360, but it has since been released on the PlayStation 3. I personally played this on the PS3 for the first time. But yeah, you get 2 full GTA 4 expansions that you can play, and it says right here, GTA 4 is not required to play. So you don't even need to buy the base game if you maybe were only interested in just playing the DLCs. And unfortunately, this doesn't come with a map, but I guess like if you, like, what do you call it? If you already owned GTA 4, you would have already had that map, but I don't know if it's also because I may be missing mine, I don't know. Maybe it was included in this version and mine just didn't have it. And as for the final games in the collection thing, now people who should know me knows one of my favorite games ever made is Tomb Raider Legend, and to this day I will still make it a mission of mine to try and get every single version of Tomb Raider Legend as I can. My botched speedrun of it be damned. But the reason why I'm saying this is quite interesting as well is, like, as you can see, this is under the Classics HD model for the PlayStation 3, like the other games we saw. And here's just a collection of the 3 games. It's essentially the same thing. But where they differ is that Tomb Raider didn't officially get a PlayStation 3 game until Underworld in 2008. Whereas the 360 had Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld day one, alongside the PlayStation 2, Wii, whatever that was released with at the time. But why I find it very funny and why I hate how they handle the box arts in this case is, so here it is, even like, I think that's a Tomb Raider collection, I don't know what that does, I think that code's expired. Your booklet, that's kind of like in the same vein as that Ubisoft collection with Beyond Good and Evil. But as you can see, this is what they did. They show that this is a 3-tower like disc thing. They literally put each of the original releases of these Tomb Raider games into the box. So you literally have all 3 of the discs that originally launched with the game in this one collection, and I don't really like that. So when I saw the PS3 version floating around at a thrift store, I almost figured that it would have been the same case, or like the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. They would have, like, because these 2 games, I thought they remastered the PlayStation 2 or the Wii versions of these games, but I was wrong. These are the 360 versions of Tomb Raider Legend and Anniversary ported to the PlayStation 3. And like I said, I thought that they would have had to do the Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid HD collection thing, because Underworld released on the PlayStation 3 day one. But no, it's all bundled in one disc. So I think that's insane. So I'd much rather play this version if I don't want to frickin' scratch the 360 discs. So I just think it's very impressive how they fit two 360 like games onto one PS3 disc and still have an original PlayStation 3 launch game on there as well. And you don't need to download shit. You just pop it in, pick which one you want to play, go nuts. You can watch my live stream of it on my second channel. I kind of botched that, but I still think I got like a personal best. And as for the final thing of the value that you can get by getting physical games, I'm not gonna harp on for this too long. They will speak for themselves. Here's a few more things. So, Infamous, I'm sure. Like, okay, let me tell you what these are. Special and collectors. Not collectors, but limited editions. So here's my special edition of Infamous. This should probably bring back a lot of memories if you own the PS3 back in the day. Infamous, still to this day, I would still argue, if it's treated in a vacuum in its time, before Spider-Man PS4 came out, this was still the best superhero game. I still think it holds that for originality. And this special edition I got for really cheap. I think I traded in my original Platinum one and they just decided, like, this is fine. So they gave you this. What was this? I think this is a comic book. So you got... No, this isn't a comic book. Look here. They do have the comic book, like, that I think shows, like, the events of the games leading up, but look how cool this is. Look at that. I don't know if this is a comic book or the manual, but look at this. This looks awesome, hey? Like, look here. That pamphlet, you get this nice, amazing illustration, and the comic book art style in Infamous is amazing. This, I believe, is just concept art, so a little booklet to show concept art of the characters, Cole. I don't remember what the city's name was. I still think Infamous 2 is the better game out of them. And just look at this. Let's see what this one is. And I also like how it's like indicative of like the two sides that you can get, hero or villain. Okay, this is the booklet. But yeah, look at this. I do not know if this version works. Like, I finished it with my old version and I just literally wanted the special edition because it looked so damn cool and I wanted the special edition in my collection. And then I got this. It's just so insane. And then you still get everything. And yeah, just the Infamous special edition. Get this cool sleeve and it's awesome. Don't even think I need to go out of my way to describe like having something like this and how rare it must be to own something like this. Now, something that's less impressive are steelbooks. Steelbooks nowadays I still think are a dime a dozen, but this is just one of the few that I own. I own one for Beyond Two Souls on the PlayStation 3 as well. Now, this is mine for the original BioShock. Steelbooks are nice, I like them. One thing that I just kind of like I'm worried about now is, so just because this is rustic, I don't know if this is actually how the steelbook is supposed to look, or if the thing aged so much this is actually rust, and if I cut myself I need a tetanus shot. But yeah, steelbooks, they aren't really all that much interesting to talk about. They're just steelbook variations of the actual physical cover, and they just look cool. And I guess you can use them as a lethal weapon if you want to. And now we're coming to the big boys of this, but before that, here's another example. Like, I want to group these other two into this. This is another one of my steelbooks. This is the Dark Souls 2 Black Armored Edition, which again, this is just, I got this for super cheap, dude. There's your DLC code add-on stuff. I don't know what this is supposed to be. There's that Bandai registration thing where you get some cool Dark Souls goodies. Here's the booklet that you can read at your leisure. And there's the soundtrack along with the game. Dude, this is just insane. Like, words cannot describe how much I love going out of my way to try and find stuff like this. And I'm so happy that I'm able to actually own these kinds of stuff for myself. I don't want to even touch these things. You guys get the idea. There's the booklet, there's everything. Now it's all just sleekly done in this nice steelbook with the sleeve, with the slip over cover that shows you what game it is, what edition you got. You even got that soundtrack. It's so fucking kick-ass, dude. Like, words can't describe how happy I am with this. Another one of these cases, here are my limited editions of Dark Souls 1 and Final Fantasy X and X-2. So since we were talking about Dark Souls 2, let's go with Dark Souls 1 here. So once again, I got this for criminally cheap. So like, here you go, there's your normal like edition of Dark Souls 1 booklet, everything that you need to know. Dark Souls 1, amazing game, still considerably one of the best versions of a game. Here is the art book that includes, I believe this is the soundtrack, and I think this is the behind the scenes DVD, which I am not touching. I am not touching. So here you just have like, accidentally spit on it. Fuck. But look at this. Oh, Sif. Oh, just look at this. I'm not trying to brag. Like, this is just one of the reasons why I'm so happy that I was able to go out, get this limited edition for the price that I did. And you can bet your ass if I'm finding another one, I am buying that again. I don't know if this book is enough for me to get demonetized. I do not care. This is history, and I'm so glad it's part of my collection. And this is still why I would imply like people going out, or implore, whatever the right word is, and just go out and buy these things. Look for these things. There's nothing that like beats that feeling of going into a thrift store and finding something that has so much value for such a cheap price. This is like about $5 US if you want like an example. Same case with this. Same exact price, same exact store, same exact value. Now, I don't believe this edition came with a sound, maybe it came with a soundtrack, but I know for a fact it came with a book. But here you go. Let's see. No, it didn't come with anything, but still, I don't know if this was still Tetsuya Nomura doing the art, but look at how cool this is. I'm just super grateful that this is something that's in my collection. I don't even want to touch this, because this is just like history, and I'm just glad that it's part of like my collection. And this is why, again, I would recommend you go out and get that value for just taking some time and looking for these physical things. And again, even I should also mention, since these are physical discs, now this doesn't always apply for everything, I believe, but you physically have these discs. You can pop them in to, if you have the original hardware, and play them whenever you want. Do you understand like how many times I went back and played my PS3 just when I had no internet, like we were having internet issues and shit like that. I could just pop in my PlayStation 3 or my 360 and just have a good time playing these games. And I didn't even need internet. I just had to pop in the disc. There you go, full game there. No even need for updates. Dude, like, this is why I'm telling you, this is why I'm very happy with going out of my way and owning like physical editions. And this is why I'm saying there's so much value in owning all of these things. And I just feel like nowadays you don't even get the benefits of having this. Now, I could be wrong though. Some games might still do this. But again, for the price that I got this with, and like, I think when you want to try and get like special editions of games nowadays, you have to pay a massive premium for that. And I'm just grateful that this is just something that I got on the cheap. So yeah. Basically, you can see having physical media like this in some way, shape, or form will have value to you one way or another. Disregarding how good or bad the game is, you could just admire having this as like a piece of history that you can put on the shelf, show your friends, play if you want to. Like, there's just so much that you could do. Like, read all these things, look at all the little tiny details, read the manuals. I don't know what best way to describe it. Like, just, you can't beat the value of like owning a physical game back in the years that these came out, because there was just so much love, so much effort and stuff put into them. Although, let's go back to the other camera real quick. Now, to end this video off, I do only think that it is fair to mention that if you go out of your way to buy something new or buy something secondhand, like I'm pretty sure with most of these consoles, that's the only option you have at this point, unless you want to buy shit from DK Oldies. And that's a few of the problems that you can either face when you buy something secondhand or when you own physical editions of games, and where I kind of feel they can either be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, and why I think digital might be the best option for you. Yes, as you just heard, for as much praise as I give owning these physical editions, limited editions, whatever the hell you, I'm rambling. Any case, no, like, there are negatives. So let me quickly grab my games that I used as the perfect example of all of these, all of these shortcomings. So I guess like the best way how I can describe this, so yeah, I'm standing for a little bit. Fuck, dude, I've been filming for like, I think close to 5 hours right now. So here we have my little group of games. That proves that there are some negatives, and like, these aren't even really that big of a deal if you don't really care all too much about, like, I don't know how to explain it, like, you don't care too much about the case, stuff like that. you just care about the game. Let's quickly get into this. So the first major problem that I want to bring up, and this is something that I think goes hand in hand with these two games right here. So this is Porsche Challenge. This is Porsche Challenge from the Value series on PS1 and Far Cry 2. So you might be wondering to yourself, what's the negative about owning these two physical editions, and why did I single these two out specifically? Well then... and guess what? Same problem. After a long time, or just out of nowhere, you might actually end up losing your disc to this, either to the sands of time, or some prick decided that it would be funny to steal it, and now you're just essentially stuck with just the box. Now, this isn't too big of a deal, especially like with Far Cry 2, because I could just go out of my way and buy that on Steam, maybe go out to a thrift store and buy another copy, or just get it backwards compatible on like the Xbox store. But the problem is, this game was brand new. Like, here we go. I wanted to save this for some ASMR. Like, I want to... Shit, I don't know if my lav is going to pick this up, but... Like, let's tear that off. I don't know if that sounded nice. Maybe that sounded ear-grating to you, but this is how brand new this was. This still came with that seal that kept the game shut. So there you go, like Xbox certified sellotape, whatever the hell it's supposed to be. So yeah, that's one of the biggest issues. Like, after some time has passed and you don't really pay much attention to this, discs can go missing. People might have stole it, you might lose it eventually. There are mitigations to this, but around the time, like let's say you lost this around the time, you'd be shit out of luck and you'd have to rebuy a new version. Nowadays we do have other alternatives, but yeah, this would have been a massive L. The one problem with also buying games used, though, as you can expect, is that most people probably do not really care about the things that they own. So here's another one of my favorite games to play because it's such a trip, and it's so bad it's good almost, but I really like it. It's Deadly Premonitions Director's Cut. Developed, I don't know, it's Rising Star that made this. I don't know if Suda51 had something to do with this. But this game, awesome. As you can see, it still has everything. There you go. Beautiful disc. Beautiful disc. What do you call it? Beautiful booklet. Let's go through that a little bit. See, since this is the director's cut, yeah, as you can see, this looks insanely good. Like bloody rustic paper, it looks good. But as you can see, jackass that owned this before me didn't seem to really give two shits about buying it. Now, here's another reason why I'm not too concerned, and you want to know another reason. Like, this is a brand new, like you can see, this is with the PlayStation Move advertisement, and this is a new one. Like, this is from the new rebranding for PlayStation, but they still put it in like the old school box. So you can see this guy just did not give two shits about like taking care of the stuff. The way how I saw buying this, it wasn't too big of a deal because I really just wanted to have this game because I've heard so many things about it and I just wanted to give it a play for myself. And the box was in decent enough condition where it didn't bother me so much. And the most important thing, it had everything and the disc was fine and the artwork wasn't fucked up. So I could just easily at any time of the year just replace this box with something new and then no harm, no foul. But if this is something that does bother you, always buyer beware. Don't go buying used things if people don't tend to look after their stuff that nicely. Another one of the biggest issues, you might not even get the official or original box. Now, here is my PS4 edition of Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy. This is actually one of the last few physical games I bought recently. That along with Ratchet & Clank All for One, I believe, the co-op one. So, the thing is with Crash Bandicoot, since this is an Activision-owned game, the prices don't really tend to go down to something that I found acceptable. So I saw this at the store in this box for the price that it was. This was a price I was willing to pay for it. I loved Crash Bandicoot on the PS1 and I just wanted the N. Sane Trilogy version, and the disc was in great condition, the art was in great condition, so I guess I just had to suck up my collector's pride, and for the sake of actually getting a game, buying the game and enjoying the game, I just decided at the end of the day, you know what, it's fine. I could just probably rebuy a new, I could just rebuy or get a used PS4 box like this one and just pop this in there, and then again, no harm done. Everything that I needed to work worked, so I mean, that's perfectly fine. Obviously, I don't believe I have other examples Well, I mean, here's another example. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver on the PlayStation 1. I find this very funny because this is the jewel cases that these games would usually come in the US. But yeah, the game was in good condition. I've heard so many great things about Soul Reaver. It is a great game. I did play a fuck ton of it. But yeah, sometimes when you buy something used, this is just the kind of shit that you're gonna have to take in. There's a video by a channel called Nintendo that shows like how to make like your very own like replacement copies like of the booklet, I think, in the cover and the back and all that shit. So I'll link that at the bottom. What do you call it? I'll link that at the bottom and you guys can go watch that. And this is the most egregious one out of all of them. And this is the final point that I have to make. Sometimes you can lose your box. Now, this is the only exception where we lost the box and the disc, but we still have the manual, so at the very least, we can salvage something from Tomb Raider 3 on the PC. Now, also, this is very interesting because this is probably the only PC version manual of a game that I own. So, I mean, that's at the very least one saving grace. But this, Gun Gauge, Soviet Strike, Street Skater, this isn't even the booklet. The booklet I do own, but I only have, like, the original art. The boxes are gone, but I have the discs, and at the very least, I guess I have, like, two of the most important things, and I can cite back to that tutorial I mentioned by Nintendo. So yeah, that is just like the negatives. And obviously, like I showed, sometimes the discs could be fucked, but like even nowadays, the most scratched disc ever could still work on hardware nowadays. But yeah, I've been sitting here for close to 4 hours. I think I'm gonna sign you guys out at another spot in my house. Oh, hi there. It's been a while. You look a lot more grey than when I last saw you. Yes, I hope that little 3-hour-long video was enough to tell you guys how I just feel like physical gaming has just degraded over the years. Now, as you could see, with a few exceptions, like for example with the Suited Bird and the Forager game, there is still some value in owning a lot of these games physically. I don't think Forager is the best example because it's an indie game, and indie devs, they kinda actually care about the games that they make. But yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, that game is the exception. It's like the diamond in the rough of an entire ocean of physical games that don't have nearly as much effort put into them. But any case, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much if you stuck through the entire 3 hours. Consider this to be like an iceberg video. You need to put this thing onto the side and just listen to it, not really watch it, because there was a lot to go through, and I had a lot of fun making this video. It was really just, it did take quite a lot out of me to finish filming this thing. What I'm filming right now is like 2 weeks later. So I had to like recover from a very bad sore throat that I was left because I was filming in the heat. No ventilation, no fuck all for like 5 hours, but I had so much fun making this thing, and I hope you guys had just as much fun watching it.
I almost nearly forgot to mention this. I forgot to film it with my lav mic, but thank you so much to everybody who helped me with this video. You guys are awesome. Love you. Thank you.
Any case, if you guys enjoyed watching the video, maybe consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you guys want to support the channel, then maybe consider becoming a channel member or joining the Patreon, because then you get special perks like this. So special thanks to Patreon member Mr. Aftonboy. I've been John from the channel with the freakishly long name. Thank you guys all so much again for watching. I will see you guys all in the next video.